Please don't spoil the movie by adding your own soundtrack.
And we're live.
Wish poppin'.
What's poppin'? Hi, this is Jordan.
Hi, this is Jade.
And welcome back to Please Don't Spoil the Movie. Did you get the name of the podcast?
What is this thing called again? Like, what are we doing here? What is the name?
Please Don't Spoil the Movie.
Okay, so this week it's my turn to do a movie.
Yeah.
Originally, I had a particular
But you're
movie.
hopping right into it.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to chit-chat, shoot the shits in it?
Yeah.
What's going on in your world? What's going on?
Hopefully by the time I air this episode airs, I'm looking for a new job.
So hopefully that'll come to fruition. Where have you been applying? Any good places?
A lot of places that I've never heard of, but
are they nonprofits? You're a nonprofit girl.
A lot of the ones I've been applying, because I'm trying to look for a work from home job.
Oh, yeah.
And the ones that I was seeing, a lot of them are like medical, random, like startup medical companies.
But you would be doing
the accounting
stuff. Okay.
Yeah, but that's the ones I've seen so far. I just applied to one. I was just like, they asked for a cover letter, and I was like, oh.
Don't do those.
It was the
worst. You wrote one?
Okay, so, but the company, you know what? It was really stressing me out. I did maybe 10 sentences, and I was like, this is all you guys are getting.
This is all y'all are gonna get.
It's the effort I'm getting. I probably won't get it anyways. They look like they have good reviews on Glassdoor. They have unlimited PTO. It sounds like a great place.
It sounds too good to be true.
Yeah. Well, it sounds good to be true, but it sounds like I won't get it. It sounds too good for me.
That's the catch.
Yeah, it sounds great, but not great. It's too good for me. But I was like, let me just try, just in cases.
I feel you.
Yeah. But that's what I've been doing. It's annoying, and I'm over it.
Well, something will come your way. You will get that medical job or whatever it was that you applied for.
Yeah.
Let's speak it. Let's manifest it.
Right. Yeah. How about you? How are you?
So in my world, I don't know if I've ever said it, but back in March, I started a new job at the illustrious Dillard University.
There we go.
You know, a historically black college located in New Orleans.
Mascot. Go the mascot.
She said, insert mascot here. Blue Devils.
Would never have guessed that. I immediately think of Easy A.
What were they in Easy A?
In the beginning, you know, the guy from Dan.
Mm-hmm. From Gossip Girl.
Is his name Dan from Gossip Girl? Yeah. His original mascot was a...
It was like a beaver.
No, it was a devil originally. They thought it was too sexy, and they made him be a wood chop. He was like, remember that scene?
Yeah.
He was like a wood chop. But he was originally, I think it was a blue devil, if I stand corrected. But it was a devil at least. But maybe it was a...
Wow, the fact that you remember that very minuscule story.
It was important to his character. Because he went from being shirtless and hot, and they made him put on a chipmunk costume. And he was really into it. So.
Well, yeah, we're the devils. We're the Blue Devils. We're part of the United Methodist Church. We are a faith-based university.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Methodist? Interesting.
Yeah.
What do Methodists do?
And moving on.
Right.
Oh, and then also I have auditions coming up. Will be making the team for my second year as a NFL cheerleader for the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
Auditions are in less than a week. Y'all say a prayer for me because but I'll make it. It'll be fine. It'll be great. It's gonna be fantastic.
It's a competition like in Fears?
I don't know because it's just so hard to judge. I don't think anyone on the team currently that is choosing to come back is at risk of losing their spots. Unless they mess up royally at auditions.
Right.
But it's just hard to gauge who's gonna come to tryouts.
Right.
So we have an idea we know for certain these people are trying
because they keep coming.
Yeah, because they keep on showing up to stuff, but we can't, count for the people who haven't showed up to anything.
Right.
We'll just show up at auditions. Yeah. So, but...
So you're wearing the bracelet I got you. You like it?
It is. I've actually gotten a lot of compliments on it.
Cute?
It is cute. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Only $7.
Oh, yeah. It's adorable.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, oh, these are perfect.
Yeah.
Cute.
It's really cute.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Okay, well.
Yeah, we can go ahead and get into
the show
it.
rolling. So back to what I was saying, there was a very set movie I had in mind.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I wasn't able to find it on anything. And I didn't feel like going down, like, oh, let's watch it illegally. I didn't feel like doing all that.
Okay.
So, hopefully when it does come available on a streaming service.
I'm about to burp. What was it?
Oh, I was like, what are you doing? I'm actually not going to tell you because
dang it,
it won't be a surprise when I eventually do it.
Okay, what if you never remember?
Oh, I'm gonna remember to do the movie. It's like on the docket. But the movie that I was gonna choose is completely different 180 from the film that I decided to choose.
Oh, okay.
So like they're completely opposite.
What does that mean?
Completely opposite films. Well, you're about to see what movie I ended up picking anyway, because this was also on my list. But it's just not the one I had in mind for this particular episode. But here we are.
What is it? Tell me.
Do you want a hint, or do you just want to tell me?
Give me a hint.
Think very kids movie, very...
It's American Ashley something with them? No.
American Ashley.
American Ashley.
Oh, no.
Child's movie. So, like, did you watch it on, like...
It is not a Disney movie.
Oh.
Think...
Spy Kids.
No, that would have been a good one, though. That's a good guess. But think child movie. Kid actor. Whose name you don't know.
Oh, no, I don't know. Can you name me an actor who's in it? An actor, actress?
I can.
Will they give it away?
Yes.
Okay, well, tell me, because unless you can
you want me to give you the name of the actor?
Yeah.
Who's in there?
Yeah.
Okay, Danny DeVito.
Oh, Matilda.
Yeah. We are doing Matilda.
I was like, I don't know a dang thing that Danny DeVito is. For a second, I was like
Danny DeVito.
The Penguin movie, Batman.
Oh my god, he sure was in the Penguin. Okay, but yes,
he was in Batman as the Penguin.
Yes.
Sorry, I said it backwards, but yes.
Yeah. Okay, so today we are doing Matilda.
That's a fun one.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So, summary real quick.
Yeah.
The film centers on a titular child prodigy. I got this summary off.
Textular mean?
It means like, I Googled it and I completely forgot what it meant, honestly. It means like not normal or something. Okay. Maybe, I think.
Yeah. We're not a vocabulary podcast.
Right. So, titular child prodigy named Matilda Wormwood, who develops psychokinetic. Psychokinetic abilities and uses them to deal with her, these words now, I'm just going to say disrespectful, but that's not the word here, with her disrespectful family, and Agatha Trunchbull, the rootless, oppressive, and tyrannical principal of Cruncham Hall Elementary School. When I copy and pasted this summary, I probably should have read these big words.
Where'd you get it from?
Wikipedia.
There you go, Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Don't forget to donate. Whenever they ask you to donate, give them $1.
Oh, seriously?
I do it.
Oh, wow.
Because they're free.
I guess so.
Just give them $1. Give them $5. Give them $1. Do what you want. Just throw it at them. Whenever they ask them, like, okay, sure.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so a little bit about the film. The film is actually based on a 1988 novel of the same name.
No, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Not a book.
By some guy named Ryle Dahl.
Sorry to this man.
Sorry to this man, because I don't know how to pronounce your name, sir. I gave it my best. But the film, it came out in 1996 on July 28th. It is directed, narrated, and produced by Danny DeVito.
No, huh? He narrates it?
Come on, seriously? Yeah. Are you really asking that?
It's been a while since I've heard it, but he's a voiceover?
He narrates the entire film. He's the narrator.
He's like, look at Matilda go. She's doing great.
He's like, yeah, everybody's born unique, but this particular child...
But he's not playing himself when he narrates it. He's not playing the character. Okay.
No.
He is. Okay, now, yeah. Okay.
Now that you think about it, you remember now?
He does a lot of narration. He was... You know that movie that I was watching? The Duplex? With Fokker, Gaylord Fokker. Gaylord Fokker. That's not his. And Meet the Fockers is his name.
Barbara Streisand.
No, the guy.
Oh, his name is Gail?
No.
Ben Stiller?
Ben Stiller.
Oh.
And sorry. I thought that was easy to catch on, but I guess it's kind of confusing.
Well, you said Gail, so I was thinking...
I said Gaylord.
Oh,
Gaylord
I thought you said Gail.
No, I said Gaylord Fokker.
Oh, okay.
And, dang, I'm so bad with names. I'm blanking out. And
where were we going?
And Drew Barrymore.
Oh.
But he was the voiceover for that movie.
The narrator.
The narrator for that movie, just for a couple minutes. I wonder if he produced it too. But sorry, random. But yeah.
I don't think just because he narrates.
I just thought, but the movie didn't even need a narrator. He was just at the end narrating it and at the beginning narrating it. He might have been in the middle, but I wasn't much, and I was just like, random.
Right.
Now, if I remember that wrong, it's not Danny DeVito, it's my fault.
Okay, well, he is the director, producer, and narrator of the film. The screenplay is by a Nicholas Kazin and Robin Shishcord. Shishcord. Y'all don't care. Awesome. Who cares? Also, fun fact, there will be a Netflix adaptation coming out in 2022. I think it's gonna be a musical though. Oh, because there's a musical too.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Okay, we could do that, because if it's based off a musical that already exists, then it's just like a movie version of the musical.
Yeah,
which is fine.
Yeah. Okay, and so now we can go through some of the cast. No big hitters are in this movie besides Danny DeVito. So Danny DeVito plays Harry Wormwood, who is Matilda's father. Mm-hmm. Then we have Matilda, who is played by Mari Wilson, a kid actor. She doesn't really do much anymore. I think she's more of a writer these days. Then we have, girl, they don't never say her name, but I'm gonna call her. I've been calling her the mama.
Right.
The mommy.
I love that.
I think her name's like Zanaya.
Interesting name.
Wormwood, who plays the mother.
Uh-huh.
That is played by Rhea Perlman.
Yeah.
But anywho. So the wife in the film is actually married to Danny DeVito in real life.
Still?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So if y'all ever watch Cheers, the show Cheers?
Yeah.
Ooh, you know the one?
The only woman I can think of. Is that the main woman?
Yeah. So if y'all seen Cheers, that's the mama.
That's so funny.
From Cheers. I don't know her name, but anyway.
It's been a while since Cheers came on late nights.
Yes.
I was forced to watch it because I couldn't find the remote.
And then Pam Francis plays Mrs. Trunchbull, the evil principal tyrants. And then Emma Beth, not Beth or Elizabeth, Beth Davids plays Miss Honey. And then you have like your like student little kid friends that she has, but those are irrelevant people. Okay, and moving on. So, Mari Wilson, oh my god. So I was reading facts about the movie and stuff.
Yeah.
Mari Wilson, who plays Matilda.
Yes.
Her mom
is a teacher.
No. Had or was diagnosed with breast cancer during filming. And she died 4 months before the film.
I was like, she died.
Yeah, and then she died 4 months before the film was released, and the movie was dedicated to her.
Aww.
And Danny DeVito, he was able to show her the final edit of the movie before she died,
right.
so she could see it.
Yeah,
isn't that so sweet?
That's so sweet. That's so sad.
Yeah.
Wow. I wonder how. She was diagnosed while she was filming. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
And then she died right before it came out.
That's like
she must have stage 4.
Yeah, must have hit her. That's like almost. I mean, I guess it's not the same thing, but it's kind of like Rent. And the guy right.
The guy from Rent.
The writer died for the whole.
It's actually almost nothing like it.
It's almost nothing like it, but
it's almost exactly like it.
It's just sad when people. I mean, it's not her, it's her daughter, but it's sad when people make these great films.
Her film, but it was his play.
Yeah, and he died before even they can see it.
But she got to see it at least. He didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
And he just randomly died one day.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he technically got to see it, but he didn't get to see the fruits of his
labor.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Rosie O'Donnell was actually Rosie O'Donnell. You know Rosie O'Donnell, yeah. Winona Ryder.
Ooh, which one's that?
She's the one from Edward Scissorhands.
The
and she's in Beetlejuice. She's in Beetlejuice.
Oh, the dead wife. No, the live wife. The teenager. Oh my god, yeah, she's from Stranger Things, yes.
And
better known as the mom from Stranger Things.
Oh, she's in Stranger Things?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
She plays the guy who always goes missing's mom, or went missing the first one.
Okay, so Rosie O'Donnell.
The lady from Heathers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Just making sure I had the same person, right?
Winona Ryder.
Yes.
And Regina Agnete. Where the woman from what's it called? SVU, Special Victims Unit, Law and Order. They all turned down the role for Miss Honey.
Marissa Hargnete was trying to play anything else but Liv.
It was the fact that Rosie O'Donnell was considered to play Miss Honey. Now, Winona Ryder, I was like 100%. I could totally see that.
Yes.
But Rosie O'Donnell, I was like, huh?
I don't know. Rosie O'Donnell she's in the one where he like hits the guy in the.
No.
Who's that? No, that's the lady from. Okay, never mind. Yeah.
Jesus. What was Rosie O'Donnell in? I don't even know.
I'm just trying to think of something in Rosie O'Donnell and that she played something like almost sweet.
She was in the Flintstones. She played Barney's wife.
Yeah, not sweet enough. Maybe, but I could see it. I feel like the Rosie O'Donnell we know,
I think she
is more edgy.
Yeah, I feel like she could have played the Trunchbull. That should have been.
She could have done that. She's more edgy now, but I think early in her career she could have been seen as sweet. Or like, perhaps. But yeah, now she's like.
The Olsen twins were considered to play Matilda.
Totally.
Didn't work out.
Which twin would have done it?
I'm sure they both would have done it, just like how they both did Full House.
Are they not twins of Full House?
Are they twins of Full House?
Are they not twins of Full House?
There's one of them in Full House.
Right,
There's
that's
not
true.
Two of them. Jesus.
That's lazy. How did they pay them? Twice the salary or just one salary?
They probably got their own individual checks based off of who. First of all, who's getting a 2-year-old a check? But
they have to.
I know, but they probably, if Mary Kate did the episode, she got the check. Ashley did another episode.
That was probably so confusing for like production. They're like, okay, you guys literally cannot switch because I have to get this payroll together.
Right, y'all have to keep still.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, oh my goodness, this is the one that really got me because I was like, oh, this would have been great. Before Danny DeVito took on the role, these were some men that were considered to play Harry Wormwood. So it was Bob Hoskins, who I completely forgot who that was. I had to Google him because I was like,
Bobby.
Oh, the guy from Bob Hoskins is the guy from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Ooh, was he the detective?
Yeah, he would have been good. He would have been good as a Harry Wormwood.
That's a great movie. We should do that one.
Yeah,
I haven't. Oh, I need to watch that movie. That movie's mwah. Lovely.
Kiss. Then Tim Allen, Tim Allen, Home Improvement.
Yes, I don't like him right now
because
of something.
Maybe he's on the cusp. Yeah, and then Joe Pesci from what's that? Goodfellas, the short one. He would have been great.
He would have been great. But I think he is like.
It would have been so refreshing to see him not in a mob movie.
Yeah, I wonder where in his mob, like which movies he had done before. I'm sure it's an easy Google look up, but because if I had seen him in Goodfellas and then tried to put him in Matilda, to me that's a hard transition.
I think it would have been easy just because he's a douche in all his
100%. But
he's in Home Alone.
He is, but he's also like I don't know, abusive dad, which is so bad. Verbally abusive dad and murderer.
But he's a burglar in child burglar and child abuser in Matilda. So
but I feel like in Home Alone he was definitely, if he could have killed that kid, he would have killed that kid.
Yeah, and then John Goodman, Roseanne.
Oh,
Dan Connor, from Roseanne. That's John Goodman.
He's too sweet.
Yeah, absolutely not. Chevy Chase.
Ah, perfect.
No,
Chevy Chase is. You have to see Chevy Chase in The Community. He's,
but even he wouldn't give like Harry Wormwood.
Yeah, he gives more.
Bad.
He gives more like old, outdated, racist grandpa.
Yeah,
instead of like abusive.
Like
dad.
I hate my daughter.
Yeah.
And then Bill Murray, which I think he could have done. Bill Murray.
Yeah,
he would have been funny.
Interesting. He would have been funny.
Girl, this one took me out. I'd be like, why didn't they cast my baby? Oh, Robert De Niro.
No.
Oh my God, he would have been so good at it. So good, so good. First of all, for anybody who knows me, knows that I am a Robert De Niro stan. I love me some Robert De Niro. He be looking like a snack. Then and now.
So now? You're high.
Then and now. I will take him today at a crisp 77 years old that he is. If he walks in my door, I'd be like, hey, baby.
You're talking crazy talk.
Hey, take me out to dinner. That's how it'll be. I love Robert De Niro, so the fact that he wasn't casted, I was really
right.
upset
So
about that.
Danny DeVito, who produced it, seems like wrote it. He picked himself. Is that how that goes?
He didn't write it. But I guess
pays for it.
He was like, you know what? None of
I
these
just
people
do it myself.
I'll just do it myself.
I feel there's a little bias there, but
I mean, we don't know the whole story.
Right.
They might have all been like, "Nah, we good," and he was like, "Fine, I'll do it then." You know?
Yeah, perfectly casted. Who's the only other person I could see? Who'd be a second contender from the list?
Robert De Niro.
Okay, besides Robert De Niro.
The first guy, Bob Hopkins from Who Framed Roger Rabbit would have been great. And Joe Pesci, I think would have been great.
Really good too.
Okay, so finally we're at the end of this. Box office. Guess the budget, guess the revenue.
Guess the budget. My budget is we don't have any hitters, so I'm gonna say my budget is 60 mil.
No.
Is that too high, too low? I can't keep
Think about what kind of movie this is. It's the 90s now.
Telepathic.
It's a little cheaper, and it's a kids movie.
Okay, 10 mil.
Now you're getting a little disrespectful.
30 million?
Okay, close. The budget was $36 million.
Okay, and then they had to make I'm gonna say they made 100 million.
Okay, that's what you think?
Yeah, I'm going with that. It was a banger.
Okay. The movie made $33.5 million.
Disrespectful.
So it was a box office bomb.
That is crazy.
They lost money. They didn't even make the
Wait,
budget.
say it again?
The budget was $36 million. The movie only made $33 million. They lost money making the movie.
Why?
I don't know.
Is that did you find any research about that? Because it's a banger.
And so it said, I guess people just didn't show up. They said the movie was praised by critics and stuff.
Right.
But they didn't make no money.
Right.
But that's all right because it's a cult classic.
It's a cult classic.
People love it now.
It's a great movie. That is great.
I would be okay with my movie failing if I knew 10 years, 20 years down the line, people were going to fall in love with it.
Yeah.
I could live with it.
Depends on where I'm in the movie. Am I the producer? Am I the actor? Am I the person who paid for it?
Oh, right. Who am I in this scenario?
Then it would be
okay.
Whatever.
Wow. Okay, so now we can finally get to the film here.
Yes.
Okay, so opening scene. Here we are. The movie's opening. We see a cute little baby. She's in her little crib when she's first born, and then as it pans out, you see multiple babies in a nursery in a hospital. And then remember, Danny DeVito's the narrator, so he's basically everyone isn't born the same, and every human being is unique. And then the nurse picks up the baby, and Matilda, the nurse picks up the baby, shows the baby to Danny DeVito, which is Harry Wormwood. It's oh, look at your baby. He's like, ugh.
That's so nice.
He's like, ugh. Disgusted by the sight of it.
Aww.
So then he's still narrating as he's being grossed out by his child. So then they're leaving the hospital. Then they're complaining about the hospital bill. And he's just like, I'm not paying for it. What are they going to do? Take the kid back?
I mean, you don't have to pay for it.
And then, so then they get into the car. So Matilda is the youngest of two. So she has an older brother.
Right.
He's, I guess, at 3-4 at this point. So they get in the car after they leave the hospital. They put Matilda in the trunk of the station wagon that they're in.
Ooh.
They put her in the trunk. Luckily, the trunk is open, but it's still the trunk.
I remember the scene.
And then they're driving. He's driving all crazy. He's swerving, curving, worming on the roads. Almost hits a couple of kids, and Matilda is in the back seat. Of the station?
Is she in a?
She's in a crib what them things called that they put babies in? The little seat.
Yeah,
no,
car seat.
The stroller. What's something? The basket.
Like a car seat, but
whatever.
I get what you're saying.
Whatever y'all put infants in, that's what she in. So then they get home.
That's what she in.
They get home from the hospital and then they forget her in the car. So they're just so wrapped up in their own lives.
How'd she get out the car? Okay, you gonna tell me?
Yeah. No, they leave her in the car. I guess the next day they get her out.
Yeah.
We cut to the next scene. And they're just so wrapped up in their own lives that they don't even realize that they have a daughter who we will soon find out is extraordinary.
Right.
So, time's going by. She gets a little bit bigger. We see Matilda in the kitchen in the baby seat whatever in the kitchen.
Like, yeah.
And she's like, her mom's like fixing her spinach.
Right.
And she knocks over the spinach and she spells her name out in the spinach. And she's like 6 months. She's spelling her name in the spinach.
How did she even know how to spell her name? No one's even written her name ever.
Yes. And then the mom's like, Matilda, you're supposed to eat the spinach. Not put your fingers in it.
Where are they from? Like Long Island?
I have no idea.
They give Long
New
Island.
Jersey.
Yeah, they're giving Long Island, New Jersey.
And then so the mom's like, why are you playing in the spinach? So then she like sets her in the sink like she's a dish or something. And then rinses her off. So, but by the time she's like 2, so we're just kind of like going through her,
right,
her adolescence, I guess.
Growing up.
By the time she's 2, she's learned how to take care of herself.
Come on now.
She's developed like a sense of style.
Okay.
She hasn't started school yet, so when like her brother would go to school and her parents would go to work,
she was abandoned.
Yeah, she would stay home and so when her dad would go to work, he's a crooked car salesman, by the way, which will be crucial to the storyline.
Right.
And then her mom would like go off and play bingo. So she would be in the house and she would like make herself gourmet like breakfast. She's like 3 years old and she's fixing herself like pancakes and eggs.
Not gourmet.
Yeah. That girl said not gourmet.
She said pancakes.
She said I ain't seen no eggs Benedict on that list.
She said gourmet.
But okay, she's fixing breakfast. She's like flipping the pancakes from scratch. And then by the time she's 4, she's been able to read like every magazine in the house. Because she's super intelligent. And then one day she gets up the courage to ask her father for a book.
Yeah.
He's like,
gets up the courage.
Yes. And he's like, a book? What do you want with a book? And then she was like, to read. She's like, to read. And he's like, there's nothing you can get from a book that you can't already get from a television faster. Well, and I was like, I actually kind of agree.
Well, if they turn the book into a show, we can go ahead and wrap it up.
I kind of agree with you on that.
Depending on how fast you read, yes.
But she really wants to learn how to, she really wants to get some more books because she's read everything in the house. So the next day, her parents leave and she goes to the public library. She walks 10 blocks.
Not safe.
By herself to the library. She talks with the librarian. The librarian's like, oh, do you want me to pick you out some pretty pictures?
Right.
Books with pretty pictures. And she's like, no, thank you. I can manage.
She's like...
So she starts doing this every day. She walks to the library 10 blocks every day. And then the librarian kind of like notices her. The librarian's like, she's like, oh, I can get you a library book and you can check these books out for as long as you want, as long as you return them. She was like, would you like that? And she was like, I would like that very much. Yes, please.
Oh. Who's watching her? That's not safe.
No
Why would the librarian need to call the police?
Literally. So then we kind of just get a montage of her leaving the library every day, but as she's leaving, she's getting like a bit bigger. And so she's like the full-grown Matilda, who's played by Mari Wilson. So
the full-grown, she's like so like only
not full-grown, but like 6, because now throughout the whole movie she's like 6 years old, which is crazy. So so her last walk from home, like that we see, she like stops at like a playground that's like attached to a school, and she sees all these like little kids running around.
Right, because she's not going to school.
Yeah, she's not going to school, by the way. Because she's walking 10 blocks to the library when she should be at school because she's 6 years old.
That is crazy. Like, like it's one thing to not want to watch your child. Well, it's not one thing, but to not want to watch your child, but like she can go somewhere at this age,
right?
That she should be like she doesn't have to be at home by herself. If you don't want to watch her, someone else can watch her.
She literally needs to be in the first grade.
Yeah, by law, someone should be watching her.
Yes,
and someone can be watching her. You just have to put it there.
Right, exactly. So she sees all the kids playing. She's like really sad, and she like sits up against the fence and just pulls out her book and reads. So then once she gets home, she asks her dad. No, her dad. So she gets home, excuse me. Her dad asks her, he keeps on asking her about packages and if any packages came in the mail. Because keep in mind, her dad is a crooked car salesman. So he's always asking her about packages. And she tells him, she's like, no, there's no packages that's coming for you today. But then he asks her about why she got all these books with her.
Right.
And she's like, I got them from the library. And he's like, you ain't never set a foot in the library ever in your life.
Right.
And
he's like,
you're only 4 years old. And she's like, I'm literally 6.5. And he's like, he throws a book that she's reading, and he like grabs the book and he throws it, and he grabs her and he takes her to the mom, and he's like, sweet as pie, how old is Matilda? And she's like, 4. and she's like, I'm 5.5. No, she's like, I'm 6.5. And she's like, 5 then. And she's like, I should be.
I'll meet you in the middle.
Right. She's like, 5 then. And then she's like, no, I'm 6.5. I should be in school. And then he's like, school's out of the question because who's going to pick up my packages?
I ain't picking up your packages now.
Right. So then the dad tells her to like go watch TV like a good kid, because good kids watch TV. In this household, in the Wormwood household, good kids watch television. So she leaves that room. Then in the hallway, her brother calls her like a dip face and starts throwing marshmallows at her. Mm-hmm. And she's just really feeling down, and she goes into her room and just starts crying. Because everybody hates her.
Yeah, everyone thinks she's 5.
So
she's
weird.
Actually 6.5.
She's like 4. So the next scene, the dad comes in, all excited, tells Michael, oh, that's the brother, by the way.
Yeah.
So she tells Michael to grab a pen and paper. The dad comes in from work all excited. Okay. And tells him to grab a pen and paper. And he tells Michael, you need to learn the family business. I'm going to tell you what my profit and my earnings were for today. So he's going over how he sold a car, or multiple cars. Like the first car was worth $300. He sold it for $1,500. The next car was worth...
You get a car for $300? Oh, different times.
Yeah. So the next car was worth $500. He sold it for $5,000. And then...
That's a big one.
Yeah. And then another car was like $150, and he sold it for $890. And then so he's like, okay, Michael, so what was my profit for the day? And he's like, hold on, you're going too fast, I missed it. And then Matilda calls out the answer. And then they all kind of stop and look at her. And he was like, you little cheat, you looked at the paper. And she's like, from all the way over here. Right. So he calls her like, Harry, he calls her like a little cheat. And he's like, you looked at the paper. And she's like, from all the way over here. And he's like, are you being smart with me, young lady? And he threatens to punish her. And she's like, for being smart? And he's like, no, for being a smart aleck. And then, so what he says is, when a person is bad, that person has to be taught a lesson. And then she goes, a person? So what he did, without knowing, is he told her if a person is bad, then a person needs to be taught a lesson. But what he meant was, when a child is bad, a child has to be taught a lesson. Oh. But so what he inadvertently taught her was, when people are bad, people can get punished.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's right. It. So he unintentionally had given her like this practical advice that would introduce like a revolutionary idea to her throughout the entire film. So the next
she's
scene,
like Dexter.
Yeah.
And this is like Dexter's like law.
Right.
Person's too bad. I gotta
she's
fix
like,
that.
Okay, not kids, people bad.
Right.
Okay, so the next scene, Matilda, she sneaks into her parents' bedroom while they're sleeping in the morning, and she puts peroxide in her father's
she getting at it.
Yeah, and her father's like hair slicking oil.
You know what? That's a little crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
No, it's a little off.
Demented. It's a little demented. But she's a genius, so I mean, can you blame her? So then, so she puts peroxide into the hair oil.
That's blind.
She almost gets caught, but they don't see her, and then she sneaks out. So he tells Michael he's gonna come with him to the car shop to show him how, the family business is run and everything. Right after he's done getting ready. So he goes back, he gets ready. He puts his, his hair slicking oil on. He puts on his cologne, he gets dressed, yada, yada, yada. He comes out the kitchen, he's all like chipper, and he's like, all right, son, you ready? Right. And then his hair is like bleach blonde. And Michael and the mom, they like freeze and stop in their tracks. And then she's like, Harry, what did you do to your hair? And Matilda's like joked out. She's like, I know what happened with her hair.
People too bad.
So they're all shocked. So he's like, what are you talking about? So he looks at it, he sees the blonde hair, he's freaking out. He's like, I don't know how this got like this. And then the mom's just like, well, just put a hat on, Harry. So he puts on a hat. And then they all go to the car. Once they get in the car,
Matilda's
we see... Yeah, Matilda joins them. So the whole family gets in the car. It's a family affair. It's a family outing. So once they leave the house, they get in the car, we see that they are being watched by 2 police officers.
Yes.
In their cop cars. So they're kind
of... The feds.
The feds. They're patrolling the house.
They don't want them.
So they get to the car dealership, and he's showing the kids, like, all the illegal things that he's doing, basically, with the cars. Like how he used super glue to put on bumpers. Super glue, Jordan? To put on bumpers?
Is it Gorilla Glue? Because it might work.
Okay. Then he's putting sawdust into the engines. I don't even know what that does.
I don't know.
But he says something about it, like, makes the car stop from making noise.
Oh, okay.
So he puts sawdust in the engine so it doesn't make noise. And then, most importantly, he's taking some kind of machine and he's reversing the mileage numbers on the car.
I do remember that one.
So it's like the car has like 50,000, not even. The car will have like, the cars that he's selling has like 200,000 miles on it. And he's reversing it down to like 60.
Right.
So he's showing all of this to the son. And Matilda is like in disbelief. And she's like, Daddy, you're a crook. And she's like, what you're doing is illegal. And he's like, you talking to me? And he's not very happy with the fact that she called him a crook.
Right.
And he was like, basically, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm making money, yada, yada, yada. And he basically tells her, he's like, I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it. He was like, stop being a nitwit and hand me the super glue. So I can finish this, putting this bumper on this car. And she kind of like brushes it off and she hands him the super glue. So the mom wasn't with them at this moment. She went to go play bingo while they're at the car dealership. And so the mom pulls up and she's like, I won. She won at bingo. She won like a couple of $1,000s. And she's like, I'm taking y'all out to dinner.
Yes.
And so right before they get in the car, Matilda puts super glue on the rim of Harry, the dad's hat.
Mischievous.
She is mischievous.
She ain't one to play with.
She is not one to mess with. So she puts super glue on the rim of his hat. So then he puts on his hat. They get in the car. They go to the Flipper or something. That's what it's called.
Sounds classy.
No, actually, that's not where they go. But anywho. They go to this restaurant. They get in there. The wife is like, Harry, take your hat off. And he's trying to take it off. And he's like, it's stuck. And he can't get it off. And he's like, the fibers must be fused to my head. Because the hat is not coming off. It's not budging. And then she was like, take it off, Harry. And so she grabs the hat and she starts pulling it and yanking it. And it's not coming off. And they're basically playing tug of war with the hat. And in the midst of that, she's like basically trying to rip his scalp off. And it's not coming off because it's so tight. But the hat stays on, but like, like the rim of it.
Yeah.
That comes off.
Yeah.
So that comes off, but it was so much force behind it. So she falls flying backwards. Then Harry falls the opposite way and he lands on like this table of dessert. And then he knocks over a tray of food. And then the waiter goes flying because he knocks into the waiter. And then the food that goes flying knocks Michael, splashes on Michael. So Michael's like covered in food. And then this like perfectly like made like... It was like a slice of like ice cream and cake.
Yes.
Lands right in front of Matilda.
I remember that scene.
With the spoon, right? And then the spoon lands right in front of her. And then she like eats it.
It's like a cherry on top.
And like the cherry lands on top and all of that. So everyone's like covered in food except for her and she's eating like her ice cream.
It's like she's learning like the laws of like the universe. Like you do good. Like she's like
you do like God's work and you get rewarded.
But it's like I understand. I mean, they deserve what they're getting, but like putting glue in your dad's hat isn't necessarily positive, but I mean, someone's got to be karma, and if she's gonna play it,
she's playing karma.
Yeah,
this movie really she is karma.
Yeah.
So that's the end of that scene. So the next scene, they're at the house. The wife is trying to cut the hat off of Harry's head because it's still attached. Harry is having a little fit.
Yeah,
because,
he's upset.
His hair is blonde.
He's about to be bald.
The glue is cut. I mean, the glue is, stuck to his head. The hat is not coming off. The wife eventually gets to head off. He looks ridiculous. And he's like, from now on, everyone in this family is going to do what I say when I say it. And then he's like,
that's right now,
right now we're watching TV. Oh. So he cuts off the lights. They enjoy their like TV dinner. And then Harry looks over at Matilda, who is sitting in the chair and she's reading a book. Then he walks up to her and he's like, are you part of this family? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, what are you reading? And she's like, Moby Dick. And he's like, Moby what?
What did you just call me?
He's like, why are you reading this trash? And she's like, it's not trash, Daddy. It's lovely.
Oh.
And then so he takes the book and he rips it up. Oof. And she's like, you can't do that. That's not mine. Like, it's a library book.
You can't rip up books in general.
Oof. Right.
Oh.
So he rips it up. And he said he's fed up with, like, all of the reading and all the garbage that's been putting in her head from these books. Right. And he grabs her head.
Ooh.
And he faces her to the TV. And he's like, watch the television. And then so she's literally, like, he's forcing her head in front of the TV. And she's just watching it. And, like, you can see, like, her eyes are dilating. And she's getting angry. And, like, her head starts to, like, shake a little bit. And then the TV explodes. And then they're like, and like everyone's like, what just happened? And she's like, I didn't do it. And then
not me.
It wasn't me. And then Harry's like, of course it wasn't you, you idiot.
Could you imagine?
There's a lot of name calling in this movie.
Oh, yeah, they're mean to her.
He was like, of course you didn't do it. No, he called her a twit. He's like, of course you didn't do it, you little twit.
Could you imagine, like, developing, like, I guess you can get childhood trauma from anything, but be like, oh my God, please don't turn on television. Oh, I cannot take the television. And be like, what happened to you between you and a television?
Right.
That you can't watch TV. It's
exactly.
Like, my dad made me and it ruined my life.
Trauma.
Yeah.
So now Matilda's basically wondering if that was her or if it was just coincidence. And then so Danny DeVito, as the narrator, says Matilda might have never even discovered her own great strength of mind if it weren't for the events that occurred the very next day.
Oh, it was like, it wasn't for her abusive father.
Yes. No. If it weren't for the very events that occurred the next day. So the next day,
what happened, girl?
We see Harry. He is at his car dealership. And he's talking to a woman, but he's talking to her through his office. So all you see is their shadows. So you don't see them, you just see their shadows. So he's talking to a lady, who's asking Harry about buying a car that is inexpensive but reliable.
Yeah.
She introduces herself as Agatha Trunchbull.
You can't do that.
Right.
Inexpensive but reliable. That's a hard one to find, Charlie.
Right. But she introduces herself as Agatha Trunchbull, and she says that she is the principal of Cruncham Hall Elementary School.
In tech.
Yes. Women in tech.
Women in tech.
So, she tells him she wants a tight car because she runs a tight ship. And her school is the model of discipline, and her motto is use the rod, beat the child.
Ooh. That's a classic.
Harry goes, terrific motto. It's like, terrific motto.
It's like, oh.
He's like, girl, just buy this car.
Yeah, he's like, great.
So she asks him if he has any kids, and he says, yes, one boy, Mikey, and one mistake, Matilda.
Now you ain't gotta tell people that.
And then she go, they're all mistakes if you ask me.
Oh, come on.
She said, kids, I'm glad I never was one.
Yes. Ooh.
Did you hear her?
She said, kids,
I never was one.
I speak on. She probably wasn't.
And then Harry was like, right.
He's like, I'm crazy, but you're crazy.
He's like, I'm thrown.
Yeah.
But you're really off, man.
Like, we're all kids.
So she buys the car. They make a deal. They shake hands. And then Harry gets home and tells Matilda she's going to school. Oh. And she's all excited. Yeah. She gets up, she jumps up and down, she hugs her dad, and he's like, yeah, you're really going to love this place.
He found a place. That's so terrible. He heard, like, how terrible that school sounded. He was like, oh, yeah, that's where Matilda's going. The worst school that I can possibly think of.
Sign her up.
That is terrible. He's so mean. Horrible. He's the worst.
So, yeah. So the next scene, he drops her off at school. It looks like a prison. Very sad. It
does. From what I remember, it's like gray. It kind of looks like when you send.
It looks like an asylum.
Like what do you call, like, when you send bad kids that do crimes?
Orphanage? Oh no, a juvenile center.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
If I could imagine what one looked like,
it looks horrible. The place looks decrepit and sad. So kids are in the front yard, though. They're playing, yada, yada, yada. Then the principal, Mrs. Trunchbull, she walks out, and girl, them children scattered like roaches. Girl, they got out of there.
All right.
So she comes out. She has this like leather rod stick in her hand, and she's like going up to the kids, like kind of like, you know how like how some teachers carry rulers and stuff. It's like a whip.
It's like that thing you beat horses with.
Yeah.
With the when you like RA whatever.
That's
thing
exactly
you write.
what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And then she's like going up to the kids, and she's like, "Detention!" And then she's like, "You're too small. Grow up." She's like literally just like spewing nonsense.
How is she getting funding?
Exactly. She's like literally spewing nonsense at the kids as she's
the money for this.
Girl, I don't know. Girl, we don't know the logistics. How this lady became why education? Why?
That is a great question. For someone who was like, I literally was never a child, but I want to run children it's a crazy thought.
It's a crazy concept.
She should have been like a military something that trained military students.
Okay, so we'll get to that. She wasn't in the military, but in a couple of notes later. Okay. So Matilda runs off into a corner, like this little, like tiny little corner, and she finds another little girl hiding in the same spots. And then she's like, "Hey, this is my spot." And then Matilda's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And she's like, "It's okay." And then Matilda's like, "Is that my teacher?" And she's like, "No, that's the principal, Mrs. Trunchbull."
Could you imagine? Like, it's your first day. He's like, "Get out the car." And like, just like, she's like, "Who's my teacher?"
Right.
Do people even know I'm here? Mm-hmm. Like, she's not getting any kind of introduction. What day of the school week is it? What month is it? Because it's not the first day.
Right. This is literally this is the middle of like the semester.
Right.
So yeah, she's like, "No, that's not your teacher. That's the principal." And then another girl finds them both hiding in this little corner, and she's like, "Hey, you better skedaddle, because the Trunchbull finds you.
Yeah.
She will put you in the chokey." And then they kind of all introduce themselves. The girl who was hiding in the nook with Matilda, her name is Lavender.
That's a black girl.
That's the black girl. Mm-hmm. And then the girl who told them to get out, her name is Hortensia.
And that's like the older girl.
Yeah, that's the older girl.
Yeah. I'm getting like visual flashbacks.
Yeah. So Hortensia tells them about Miss Trunchbull.
Hortensia.
Yes. And how she makes like weekly visits into like each classroom. And she's kind of just like giving her the synopsis of the kind of person that Miss Trunchbull is. Mm-hmm. And she's basically like, one time a boy ate 2 M&Ms during her lesson. Oof. And she threw him out the window. Did you hear that? Should I repeat it again? The boy ate 2 M&Ms during her lesson. And what did she do? She pitched him out the window.
What? Well, we have to look at both sides. There's good people on both sides here.
Huh?
Just kidding.
Come again?
What if she had was she allergic to, chocolate, and she specifically told people, if you bring chocolate in here, I will take it as an act of war.
This is crazy.
That would throw you out the window.
Are you a Trunchbull stan?
No, I'm not. I'm just joking. I'm on the kid's side.
So then Hortensia, so she says that bit. And then Lavender tells Matilda how Miss Trunchbull was in the Olympics.
Ooh.
So she's not military bred. But right. She's an Olympian.
She's stern.
She's an Olympian.
She's got a good
She went to the Olympics
discipline.
For shot out, which I don't know what that is. Javelin. That's when, they pitch the sticks. And then hammer throw. That's when they have that ball to their neck. And then they spin around and like throw it. Oh, the shot out is like when it's like a... It's like a
rope?
Almost like a ball, a heavy ball. Not as big as a bowling ball, but smaller. And it's attached to a rope. Yeah. And then they spin it around and then
they throw it. Yeah.
So she did all that in the Olympics.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's...
I mean, if she wasn't so mean, she'd be a bad bee.
Yeah, she could be. In another lifetime.
Yeah.
So then Hortensia kind of tells them about the chokey. She's like, you don't want to get on her bad side because she will put you in that chokey, which is like a tall, narrow hole in the wall. It's behind a door, and then the walls have broken nails and glass in them.
Okay, sounds
and like spikes and stuff, and there's like steam coming out the room,
right?
And all this, and it's like it's not even enough
like
room
coffin.
For you to stand.
Like
it's like
old
a coffin,
wooden coffin.
Yes, with
like
nails
dangerous.
in it. Literally. And Hortensia was like, girl, I've been in there twice.
Oh.
And she's like, that ain't nowhere you want to be. So Miss Trunchbull walks up. So they have their little exchange. That's about it.
Where'd she get the funding for this?
Right.
No one visit the school.
It don't take none to make a little coffin with some nails in it.
But how was no one told that? I guess she picks the right students, because how is no one told their parent that this thing exists?
They don't believe them. Matilda was like, you didn't tell your parents? And they said, girl, they didn't believe me.
It's sad.
That's sad.
It's like she knows what kids to abuse, but I guess only certain parents would send their kids. But honestly,
your kids have to hate you. I mean, your parents have to hate you a little bit if they're sending you to school that looks like
right.
That.
Yeah, they're either too poor and it's like, girl, just looking for it, or they're abusive. They're like, girl, this is where you gonna go because I don't care.
Right, because I don't care about you. So, so they have their little spiel. They give their little overview of what kind of lady Miss Trunchbull is. So Miss Trunchbull is doing her little rounds. She's walking around, the front yard, and she walks up on this little girl named Amanda with some pigtails. This cute little blonde-headed girl with pigtails, and she's like, "Why is that in your head?"
Oh, she's a hater.
And she's like, "What do you mean, Miss Trunchbull?" And she's like, "Why you got them pigtails in your head?"
Oh goodness.
And then she was like, "Well, my mommy said they were sweet." She's like, "Sweet all day." Sounds like a witch. And she's like, "Take them out or I'll chop them off." And then she's like, but
chop them off.
But right. I
can't. You better figure it out, girl.
So she's like, and she takes her by the ponytails. Mm-hmm. Just like she was doing, just like if she was at the Olympics doing a shout out.
Yeah. She
takes her by the ponytails, spins her around in a circle, and then launches her off into the sky. Funny. She goes flying like a freaking rocket ship. And so she goes flying. Uh-huh. She's like, she got some height on her.
Right.
In the air. And then she's slowly going down. As she's going down, she's getting closer and closer to this fence. And it looks like she's about to hit the fence. Luckily, she misses the fence by the skin of her teeth.
Right.
And she lands into this, meadow of, flowers. And she's, scooping up the flowers when she lands. And she, brushes herself off. And she's okay. And she, puts her arms up. I'm okay, everybody. Right. And then everyone, cheers. And I'm like, yay, she's fine. And then Miss Trunchbull's like, get to class!
Now, what if Miss Trunchbull is lucky? What if that girl with a broken neck? What you gonna do then?
Right. Now you got a dead kid on your hand.
Right.
She knew how far to throw her. She knew she was
What if she was actually really skilled at it?
Yeah,
and she's
new. Really isn't. She knows how
like,
far to throw a kid to
not kill them. That'd
she knows
wild.
Their weight and the force needed behind it.
Right. She's an Olympic athlete.
Yeah,
she knows what she's doing.
She knows what she's doing.
The size of that ball is about the same size of a 4-year-old child.
Right. Okay, so Matilda asks, she asks Lavender, okay, so who's my teacher? What's going on here? What we doing? So then this is when we're introduced to Miss Honey.
Yay! She like honey.
An angel.
Yes.
That's why her name's Miss Honey. Gorgeous woman, gorgeous lady. So Matilda is in Miss Honey's class, and Miss Honey introduces herself to Matilda. She's like, "Hey, I'm Miss Honey." She's like, "Hi." And so then Miss Honey introduces her to everyone in the class.
It's like love at first sight, if I remember. They're destined for each other.
Not yet, but yeah. So then Miss Honey introduces Matilda to everyone. Then Danny DeVito, he comes in as the narrator, and he says that Miss Honey had a deep secret that caused her great pain. But
she's a lesbian.
It did not let her interfere with her teaching. No. So we find out that she has a deep secret, but we don't know.
It's okay to be gay, girl.
It's gonna be okay, Miss Honey. So then, so Miss Honey introduces Matilda to everybody. She tells her to take a seat and that they're gonna go over their times tables. So, they do 2 times 4, 2 times 5, 2 times 6, or whatever. And they're saying the answers out loud. And then Miss Honey's like, "Oh my God, y'all are so good. Y'all are so brilliant. Just before you know, you'll be able to do large multiplications, 13 times 379.
Nope.
And then Matilda goes, 4,927.
Oh my God. Who let her in?
Right. What a know-it-all.
Yeah.
And then Miss Honey kind of stops and looks at her. And Matilda's like, "I think that's the right answer." Aww. And then Miss Honey, she pulls out the calculator.
Oh, she don't know.
She pulls out that calculator.
I'm just saying stuff.
Right. She pulls out that calculator and she's like, "Oh my God, you're right." And at that moment, it was literally like love at first sight. Right. Like, she fell in love with her.
She's like a prodigy.
She was like, this child is brilliant.
Right. It's just kind of sad.
It was literally like
should love all the childs equally.
The lock of eyes that they gave each other, it almost seemed inappropriate. I was like, Jesus Christ, they're literally in love with each other.
They're like soulmates, but like mom and daughter.
Yeah, they're literally like soulmates. So yeah, they're falling in love with each other. So then Miss Honey like leaves. She excuses herself. She's like, "I'll be right back, class." After she realized
who gonna watch him? Okay,
exactly. So Miss Honey leaves and she goes to talk to Miss Trunchbull. She goes to talk to her about Matilda.
Oh my God!
Instantly.
Why?
So she goes into her office. Miss Trunchbull, she's playing darts, and she almost hits Miss Honey with a dart, like in her eyeball.
Inappropriate.
Yeah. So. She's like, no, I just kind of wanted to talk to you about this, new child that I have in my class. Her name is Matilda. And then she's like, oh, that one. She's like, her dad says she's a real wart. And she's like, Miss Honey's like, what? She's like, a wart, a blister, a festering pus of, what did she say? No, she said, a wart, a blister, a festering pus of maggot ooze.
Okay, he didn't say all that, but okay, girl.
That's
what you're doing over here, coming up with synonyms for wart.
She go in. And then, she's like, no, I actually think she's a very lovely child. But she's like, I think she would do better in a more advanced class because she seems to be,
Can we wait?
Super intelligent.
It's day one.
Right. And then Miss Trunchbull was like, I know what you're trying to do, Jen. You're trying to force her off to some other teacher because you can't handle the little twerp. And she's like, if you can't handle her, then I'll put her in the chokey.
Wow, that's a big jump.
So, her crazy behind thinks that she's just trying to, hand her off to another teacher. And she's like, Miss Honey's like,
never mind.
Oh my. I see this wasn't the best idea.
No, why would, how long, you know her. You know that this lady is not.
You know how this lady like.
Yeah.
You work with her. You know what she bought.
Yes, you knew she wasn't going to say nothing positive.
Right.
And also, who's watching the kids?
Exactly. They'll be fine. They're good kids. So she leaves out. She's like, whatever, because she's like, gotta get out of here. So then the next scene, Matilda goes home, and the police are parked out on the front of the street.
Undercover cops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then the next scene after that,
poor Matilda.
it's nighttime, and they're all watching TV for dinner. They're doing their dinner in the movie, as they usually do. Their TV dinners.
It's not a bad family bonding.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just bad that they're like, Matilda doesn't like it and they hate her for it. But
right. So then they're all watching TV. Miss Honey comes and she rings the doorbell. Harry answers and he's like, we don't buy nothing from facilitators or whatever they're called.
Solicitators.
And she's like, no. I'm Matilda's teacher.
She is doing a lot.
Right. So she just tells her, she tells Harry who she is. And he thinks instantly that Matilda did something bad. And he's like, go to your room. So she goes to her room. And she comes in. Miss Honey comes in. Checks him a little bit. And she's like, I need you to turn off the TV. And I need you to listen to me. So he does it. And she's going over with him how brilliant she thinks Matilda is. And how much potential that she has as a student. And that she could possibly, get early admitted into college and stuff like that.
Oh my God, she's 6.
Right.
Calm down, lady.
Right. And then Harry's like, college? Matilda? She ain't going to no college.
I mean, it is extreme to think about. Even the oldest child is not ready for college. Right. I don't know if he's in high school.
He's like, if she's 6, he looks like he's about 11.
Not high school.
Right.
And she's talking about high school. I'm like, what, lady?
Well, he can't go to no high school. He dumb. Matilda is smart. So, they tell her, she tells her, like, Miss Honey tells Harry, I think she's ready for college. The mom and Harry laugh at the idea. He's like, Matilda ain't going to no college.
I'll laugh too.
Right. So they laugh at the idea. The mom says, like, a girl doesn't need to get anywhere by acting intelligent. She needs to rely on her beauty. Well, that's what she tells her. And
it'd be nice, but no.
Miss Honey was like, you really shouldn't laugh at educated people. She said, let's say if you became ill, your doctor would have been a college graduate. Or let's say if you got sued for selling someone a faulty car, your lawyer would be, hopefully, a college graduate.
And he was like,
stalking
these people?
Sued?
Right.
Who you been talking to?
That's a little too specific, lady.
Right. Girl, she got him riled up when she said that. He was like, who you been talking to?
Right.
And she was like,
who has she been talking to? Because, like, how she know he's selling fake carburetors?
Right. And then Miss Honey's like, oh my, I can see me coming here wasn't a good idea.
Oh, she's messy. I'm not buying this anymore. She is messy.
Come on. Whose side are you on right now? What are you talking about?
That is wild. Come knocking on the door at 6 p.m. I need to talk to you about Matilda going to college. Lady, what?
She sees the potential.
She's so sweet, but she don't understand. Like, clearly, she doesn't understand how to read people, and she thinks the best out of people.
How she was supposed to know that she had no good parents?
The same reason why she knew that he was selling fake carburetors. She knew he's a bad person.
Anywho, so she's like, you know what? I'm just gonna excuse myself. I'm gonna leave. But before she leaves a book for Matilda on her way out. Matilda sees her leave the book, and she's like, I'll talk to you tomorrow in class. Mm-hmm. And so that was the end of that scene. So next, we have the next scene. Miss Trunchbull makes all the kids come to the assembly room over the intercom. So this is like the next day at school. She makes an announcement. All kids go to the assembly.
Right.
So Matilda and Lavender, they're wondering what's going on as they wander off to the assembly room. Miss Trunchbull, she's on the stage. She's talking. And she calls up Bruce Bogtrotter.
Sounds like a Harry Potter name.
Yes, it does, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Bogtrotter. She calls him up. Bruce is a fat kid. He got some freckles. Mm-hmm. Real chubby little boy. Yeah. Real chubby little boy. Got some freckles. He got like a slick back hair. It's really long and it's jet black. And he walks up there all slow. He goes up to the stage. And girl, Bruce already know what this about. He go up there, Bruce already knows what's going on. He know what this about. Mm-hmm. He know why he getting called up there. So Miss Trunchbull calls him a vicious snake thief and a disgusting criminal. And Bruce is like, I don't know what you're talking about. Right. And she's like, oh, so you don't know what I'm talking about, huh? So she accuses Bruce of sneaking into the school's cafeteria and accusing him of eating her own personal cake that was made for her.
Ain't nobody doing that.
And Bruce is like, well, it's hard for me to remember a specific cake.
Right.
Because, Bruce is a big boy. He eats a lot of cake.
He's diverse with cakes.
So Miss Trunchbull was like, this one was for me. It was mine. And it was one of the most scrumptious cakes in the entire world. And Bruce cake. Petty. Bruce was like, my mom's is better.
Ooh, now he coming for her cake?
Girl, then the kids gasped. They was like, ooh.
Right. Now my mom is better.
Ooh, world star. So Miss Trunchbull was like, well, in order for you to really know that, you're going to have another piece. She pulls out this very large piece of chocolate cake. It was huge. And tells him to eat it. And Bruce says he doesn't want any. He's like, I'm good, no thank you. And then she yells at him. She goes, eat it! So he does. He eats the cake. He eats the slice of cake. And he said it was pretty good. He really enjoyed it. And she was like, okay, I'm glad you liked it. Do you want some more, Bruce? And he's like, no, thank you. I can't do it.
Can't eat it for everyone again.
So then Miss Trunchbull, she calls out Cookie, who is the lunch lady. And Cookie comes out with this saucer size of a chocolate cake, large enough to feed a child's birthday party. It's a very large chocolate cake. She comes out with it. And Miss Trunchbull is like, you will eat the entire configuration of this cake. Until you do, no one leaves this assembly. Mm-hmm. And she's like, she ain't playing no games. And Bruce is like, I really don't think I can eat this cake. And she's like, let's be reasonable. Eat it!
I cannot do that.
So she forces him to eat the cake. I don't know how much time goes by, but it looks like a lot of time goes by. But Bruce gets to the point where he looks like he might be able to finish the whole cake. He's struggling. Looks like he might pass out. Looks like he might throw up.
Yeah.
Right. Looks like he might be needed to take him to the hospital.
Yeah.
But he looks like he might finish the cake. He's almost there, but they're kind of like, ooh, can he make it? Can he make it? So then Matilda stands up and she's like, you can do it, Brucey, you can do it.
Go ahead, Matilda.
And then Lavender is like, yeah, Bruce, you can do it. Then Hortensia is like, come on, Bruce, come on. And then everybody starts getting up. They start cheering him. Bruce, 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 Bruce,
Right.
Bruce. So he finishes it. He finishes the cake.
Yeah!
And the crowd goes crazy.
Go
the crowd
Bruce.
goes wild. He like putting his hands up in the air like he won the championship ring, girl. They're going crazy. The crowd pumped. They all Miss Trunchbull.
No.
She takes
She's not into it.
She's not into it.
Not into it.
She's not. She's pissed.
Yeah.
She's pissed. She takes the glass saucer that the cake was on and she slams it against Bruce's head. Girl, Bruce plopped down to the floor so quick.
Now that is crazy.
Girl, they was cheering.
Why is she not in jail?
They was cheering with like wild animals. As soon as she slammed that thing on top of his head and that glass shattered,
things got awkward.
Sat down.
Yeah.
It goes quiet. And then she basically tells them, all the kids will stay here an extra 4 hours.
4 hours.
And write out of the dictionary.
Well, how long have
silence.
How long have we been here?
Exactly.
Is it not 4 o'clock right now?
They probably was there for at least an hour and a half watching him eat that cake. And now they got to stay behind another 4 hours and write out of the dictionary in silence.
I mean, who is funding the school? Why is no teacher like, we need to report this?
We need to riot.
We need to call the police because there's maybe an unconscious, maybe a dead child here.
For the sake of the movie.
Right.
So that was that. The
Miss
next
Honey,
scene,
what are you doing?
Matilda gets home. She gets home late because, she was at school for 5 hours.
They don't care.
Harry asked her where she'd been all day because no one was home to pick up the packages.
What? Can they not drop
He's like, where you been all day? Ain't nobody was here to pick up these packages.
What is in the package? They can't drop off at the front of the house.
And girl, then the mama, she in the kitchen, she whining, complaining. She's like, Harry, why you always get all these packages sent to the house, but I never get to shop out of the catalogs? And then he's like, girl, he worshiped this lady now. He really worshipped his
He know how to
wife.
love.
He loved her. He loved her. He's like, sweet as
Matilda.
pie. He's like, this is business. This isn't for pleasure. I'm trying to make us some money here.
Right. It's crazy.
And he's like, I'm running a business. And she's like, well, why can't you get them sent to the office? All these packages you getting delivered.
Right.
And he was like, because he's like, the cops might be watching. And then Matilda's like, she's like, they watching the house too.
Right.
And then the mom was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, Matilda's like, the cops are watching this house. And she's like, don't be so dumb. Don't be such an ignoramus. Those are speedboat salesmen. She's talking about the boys that are watching the house.
That stay outside 24 hours
and then,
trying to sell me a speedboat.
And then Harry's like, speedboat salesman. There's no rivers or lakes around here. And then she was like, well, some people like to go away for the weekends, Harry.
Right. It's weird that he knows that people are watching him, but he thinks like they have a limit on where they can watch him.
Exactly. It's like they're watching The Office, but you don't think they can be watching your home.
Yeah.
As well.
You think they stop somewhere?
Yeah. So he calls her a little earwig and tells her to go to her room.
That was like earwig.
The name calling in this movie, the words that they come up with is
maybe they had to make stuff up so it wasn't like too harsh for children.
Right.
They're like earwig, and you're like, oh.
So she goes to her room. The next scene, we see Matilda. She's at school now.
Yeah.
She's playing outside with her friends.
Yeah.
Outside in nature, and they find a newt.
Right.
Which is kind of like a lizard.
Right.
Yeah, which is like a fancy looking lizard. They found this newt, and they're all excited about it. And then Miss Trunchbull pulls up, and she's pissed. She pulls up on the kids. She's pissed because the car that she bought from Matilda's father is giving her trouble. It is now becoming a faulty car.
Oh, no.
And she's like, she pulls up on Matilda, and she grabs her and tells her she's going to go into the chokey. Oh, because her daddy sold her a lemon. How does that affect her? She's like, Matilda's like, why am I going to choke you? She was like, that has nothing to do with me.
Right.
She was like, I'm nothing like my father. She's like, you're worse than your father.
You're a child.
So Matilda is like freaking out. So she puts her into the chokey. So she's in that coffin with the nails and the glass and the steam. And Lavender, she runs and tells Miss Honey that Matilda got put into the chokey. But today is also the day that Miss Trunchbull is supposed to teach Mrs. Honey's class.
Why is she teaching classes?
Yeah. So they need to get...
What she teach?
Right. I don't know.
First subject.
grade?
She's just going to generally teach something.
I think she's just like the teacher for... Oh, what is Miss Trunchbull?
Yeah, no. What does she plan on teaching these students?
How to not be a kid.
Right.
How to act like an adult when you're 6 years old.
Exactly.
And how to instill fear into children.
Right. She's a big bully.
Yeah.
This movie is about bullies.
Correct.
And what happens if you're bullying.
Correct. So Lavender tells Miss Honey, like, hey, Matilda, she in the chokey. So in the midst of Lavender trying to tell Miss Honey that Matilda's in the chokey, she's not listening to her because she's like, we got to get all this frilly stuff out. Like, she's like, go sit down, Lavender. I don't have time for this right now. So, Lavender doesn't go sit down. She has the newt in her pocket, and she puts the newt in Miss Trunchbull's water.
Oh, she kind of...
Yes.
It's a lot of when persons do bad things happen. When
a person does a bad thing, that person should be punished.
And it's starting to spread like wildfire.
Mm-hmm. So Miss Trunchbull arrives. Miss Honey asks Lavender, okay. She's like, where's Matilda? She's like, bitch, I tried to tell you. Right. She's like, I literally was trying to tell you. Right. She wasn't listening to me. Yeah. It's like, she's in the chokey.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh no. So.
Oh no, yeah, she's been there an extra 10 minutes because you would have listened to me 10 minutes ago.
So of course Miss Honey's like, not my star prodigy.
Right, you be
saving in the chokey.
I hope she's saving all the kids from the chokey, not just Matilda.
So Miss Trunchbull's going on her little rant. She going in on them kids. She calling them like heartworms or cancers or whatever she's calling them. And Miss Honey sneaks out to go get Matilda. Mm-hmm. So she goes into the chokey room. She gets her out and she brings her back into the classroom. So once they come back to the classroom, Mrs. Trunchbull got a kid hanging up by his ankles. She got a kid and she's shaking him. She's shaking the boy by his ankles. That's what they walk in on.
Yeah.
From the chokey. They walking in on Mrs. Trunchbull shaking the little boy by the ankles. She just
can't take 5 minutes without abusing a child.
Because he didn't. You want to know why he ain't? Why
can I guess?
Shaking him by his ankles.
She thinks he has M&Ms again or something?
No.
Shaking by his ankle. She's looking for something.
Okay.
She's looking for her... I don't know. What's she looking for?
She's shaking him by the ankles because he didn't empty his pockets quick enough.
What?
She told that boy to empty his pockets. He didn't do it quick enough. So she's shaking him by the ankles to see what's in them pockets. I don't know.
She is like... She has to be mentally disturbed.
Oh, yeah. She's a psychopath.
Something's wrong. Something's off because you don't just tell a child to empty your pockets.
Correct.
What's in there?
Exactly. So then Miss Trunchbull goes to get her water.
Yes.
Remember?
Pre-made water thing they have for her.
She pours the water pitcher, and then the newt falls into the glass. She doesn't realize it, but the kids see it.
Yeah.
And then they start laughing, and she's like, "What's so funny?" So then after their laughter, she notices the newt. She sees it. She thinks it's a snake. She freaks out. She freaks out. She's jumping up and down. She's like, ah, 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 ah. And she accuses the children of trying to poison her.
Right. No, she's scary.
And she's like, which one of you did this?
I was wondering. I was like, why is she scared of a newt?
Yeah.
But she was scared of a snake, which is different because snakes are scary.
You would freak out too, though, if you saw a lizard.
I know. I would. But Miss Trunchbull, I throw kids out windows, shouldn't be scared of a little lizard.
Right.
The snake is a little more scary.
So the newt lands on her chest. She freaks out. She asks the kids, which one of you did this?
Right.
Matilda raises her hand, but not to admit to doing it, to be a smart ass.
Yeah.
And be like, it's not a snake, it's a newt.
Well, she needs to learn to listen, because
right, she was like, I just thought you'd like to know that.
Why would... Come on, Matilda.
And then, so, Miss Trunchbull's like, you did this to me, you little pissworm. And then Matilda's like, no, I didn't do it. I'm just telling you that it's not a snake, it's a newt.
Too late to backtrack, Matilda.
And then she was like, Miss Trunchbull was like, I'm gonna get you back for this. I promise you that much.
What?
And, right.
What does that mean?
She was like, even if you did it or not, I'm gonna get you back for this.
You're gonna run me over with your car, lady? What does that mean?
And she's like, because I'm big, you're small, I'm right, you're wrong, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Do adults know this little quote?
Yeah, right, that's what her dad told her earlier. Look how that's going for him. So, Miss Trunchbull is basically going in. She going in on Matilda.
Right,
she going in on her daddy. She going in on her family. She's just like, She's yelling at her. And then she calls herself God. She's like, because in this classroom, in this school, I'm God.
Well, that's just
blasphemous. While she says that, the newt, which was in her water, jumps onto her. So the newt flies from the water onto Miss Trunchbull.
Does that mean?
She freaks out again. She's hysterical.
Matilda did that, no?
Yes.
Is Matilda God?
Exactly.
It's like, Matilda's like, you're not God. I'm God.
Right. So she freaks out. The kids are joked out. Miss Trunchbull blames Matilda again. This scene was very repetitive because I was like, we already had the newts fall on her. The newt's falling on her again.
Okay.
So it was just like, okay. But the second time, Matilda did it with her brain. So.
Oh, okay.
Miss Trunchbull, she blames Matilda again for it.
Even though there's no
she was like, you did this to me. You put this newt on me. And then Miss Honey's like, how could she have done that when she was sitting all the way over here and you're standing all the way over there?
Right.
And she obviously doesn't have a logical explanation for that question.
She's right.
Mm-hmm. So she gets all upset. She gets angry. She gives the kids like a warning and she leaves.
Oh.
So then Matilda tells Miss Honey, once class is like dismissed, I guess they're going to recess or whatever. Miss Tilda, I keep saying Miss Tilda.
Miss Honey.
Yeah. But I meant to say Matilda. Matilda tells Miss Honey that she in fact did do it. And she tries to show her that she has like powers.
Yeah.
And I guess she was nervous. Her powers aren't that settled yet.
She hasn't figured it out yet.
Yeah, she hasn't figured it out yet. So she's trying to show her, she's trying to lift up the water, the glass of water with her brain. And Miss Honey's like, oh my God, you're so adorable.
That is adorable.
And she's like, Matilda, honey, I believe you can do anything that you put your mind to. And then she's like, you don't believe me, do you? And she was like, no, it's not that I don't believe you. I just think we all believe that we can do so many different things. What she's giving her, then.
Yeah, that's a great response.
Yeah, Matilda's like, this isn't the same thing.
Yeah,
she's like, I'm trying to tell you I got powers, but you're not listening to me.
She's like, you're literally gaslighting me, and I'm literally God.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And you need to understand that.
And Matilda's like, this isn't the same thing. Like, this is a different scenario. And Miss Honey's like, Matilda, would you like to come over to my house after school?
Inappropriate. No.
I knew you were going to say that.
No.
And then Matilda was like, I would love that.
What?
They're friends.
I mean...
You know what's inappropriate, Jordan?
What?
Hanging a kid up by their ankles.
100%. You know what's also appropriate? A random teacher inviting a little child back to their home. Don't tell your parents. You cannot bring kids back to your house. I mean, luckily we know Miss Honey is a good person, but no, in most cases, no, absolutely not.
So... The next scene, they're walking, Matilda and Miss Honey. They're walking to Miss Honey's little home.
Yes.
But on the way, they pass up Miss Trunchbull's house. Miss Honey's like, that's where Miss Trunchbull lives. And Matilda's like, but why is there a swing in the front yard?
She's like, what about the swing?
Yeah.
She's like, what about the swing?
Yeah,
here?
what is this swing doing here?
Yeah, what does that symbolize? The swing.
What does the swing mean, Miss Honey? And now it's story time.
Could you imagine that? Whoa.
Whoa.
What about that swing?
Why is there a swing here?
Yeah.
She hates kids. It's not making sense.
No.
So, Miss Honey tells her about a story.
Love story time.
About a friend that she had that used to live in that very house.
She's funny for this setup.
Yes. And she grew up, this is a friend of Miss Honey's now. She grew up in this house.
Wink, wink.
That Miss Trunchbull now lives in. She was a part of a happy family, a happy home.
Yeah.
But when the girl's mother... No, excuse me. But when the girl was 2, her mother died. Yo, the dad was a doctor. And he needed someone to look after the child while, he wasn't home because her mama died now. She's 2 years old.
Yeah.
But I gotta go doc. I gotta go be doctor.
I need a nanny,
so I need somebody to watch this kid, my daughter. So he invites the mother's stepsister. To come live with them and to watch after the girl. But the girl's aunt was a mean person and she treated the girl very badly. And Matilda's like, oh, Miss Trunchbull. Oh my gosh. And Miss Honey's like, yep. That was her. And then so the story continues. She continues telling the story. And she said when the girl was 5, her dad died.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And Matilda was like, well, how did he die? And Miss Honey was like, they think the police said it was a suicide. He killed himself. Wow. So that was basically the story.
But like, how did he kill? But like, what? But we're made to believe that he didn't kill himself, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, but Miss Honey kind of continued. She was like, however, the story does have a happier ending because the girl grew up. She moved out of her aunt's house. Well, it's not really her aunt's house. It's her house.
Right.
She moved out of Miss Trunchbull's house.
It's not really her aunt's house. It's her house. Right.
She moved away from her. She found a small cottage to live in.
Cottagecore.
She moved away from her wicked aunt. And, she lives a happy life. And Miss Honey was basically like, do you know why I'm telling you this, Matilda? And then she was like, no, not really.
Come on, Matilda.
And Miss Honey was basically like, because you were born into a family that doesn't appreciate you, but someday things will change. That won't always be the case. And she was like, oh, thank you. And so they keep walking, and then they arrive at the cottage.
Right, Cottagecore.
And Matilda was like, wait, this is the cottage? You were just telling me how this girl grew
right.
up, and she moved into a cottage. She was like, Miss Honey, you're the girl in the story. And then she's like, yeah. And then she was like, but that means, that's right, Matilda, Aunt Trunchbull. Right. So,
which is funny.
We now realize that Miss Honey's deep, dark secret that caused her great pain is the fact that Miss Trunchbull is, in fact, her aunt. And her mom's dead, and her dad's dead.
Yeah, I feel bad for Miss Honey because of her upbringings, but she could do a lot. She could get Miss Trunchbull into prison.
This is a child's movie.
Right. I'm just saying she turned out well, but like she could do a lot more. Like kids are almost dying every day. Oh my! Each day she lets Miss Trunchbull be a principal. A kid is one step closer to dying. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is true.
Also closer to death too. If she stands up to her. Look.
I didn't say she got stepped. I didn't say she got stand up.
Got the backbone. She ain't got the backbone.
I
didn't say she got the backbone. No,
Matilda. She has to stand up for her. She just has to file a police report. That's all I'm asking.
Look, for the sake of the story. So they go into the cottage. They're in her little house. Matilda's basically like, okay, why don't you just like leave? Like, why are you still here?
Good question, Matilda.
Yeah. And then she was like, I can't leave. Miss Honey's like, I can't leave my students. I care about them too much. And then she was like, also like, I have valuables in that house.
No,
I guess she
has possessions. How she
thinks she's gonna get them. But she was like, yeah, I got treasures and valuables in that house. And then she tells her, Matilda, about this doll that's in the house that her mom gave her.
That's so creepy.
Yes, Lucy doll.
Oh, that's terrifying. The moment you said she's a doll in the house, I'm like, gross. No.
She has a doll in the house that her mom gave her that she really, cherished.
It's like an old doll too, huh?
Yes, of course it's old. That her mom gave her that she really cherished. She was like, I would really like to have that back one day. And then Matilda's like, bet.
Right.
And then they kind of like call each other brave because Matilda's like, you're so brave for
sweet.
Not leaving.
Yeah.
And
I guess.
Honey's like, you're so brave for having the worst family ever to ever exist. And you're still a functioning 6-year-old.
Yes, good for you, Matilda.
So, next scene, Miss Honey is like, it seems like, Matilda, that you're like scared of almost nothing. And then she's like, I'm scared of a couple of things. And then she's like, I wonder what Miss Trunchbull is scared of.
She is diabolical. She's amazing, but she's a creepy kid.
She's like, I wonder what Miss Trunchbull is
That is a terrifying thing to say.
Yeah.
I wonder what she's scared of.
So then the next scene is they're at Miss Trunchbull's house.
Right. We're about to find out.
And Miss Trunchbull is outside the house. So they go back to her house. Miss Trunchbull's outside. They're kind of like peeking through the bushes.
Just Matilda, or both of them?
Both of them.
Oh, okay.
Must I say, the house is very large, very gorgeous.
Gray? Is it gray? In my head,
like
is it gray?
White.
Okay.
Like white. She has not kept up with that house.
I bet.
In the slightest bit.
Dust everywhere.
The conditions of that home are horrendous.
Yeah.
For such a beautiful house, she has really let it go. Shameful.
She's on a principal's salary, man.
Shameful.
They get paid well.
So they're hiding behind the wilderness that is the bushes to the house. Because she ain't cutting no grass or nothing. And there's a cat that walks up. She freaks out. It's a black cat. She kicks the cat.
She doesn't like cats.
She doesn't like cats. And then Matilda is kind of asking Miss Honey, she's like, why is she freaked out behind that cat like that? And she's like, she's very superstitious. Miss Trunchbull. That's what Miss Honey tells her. Miss Trunchbull, she gets in the car, she leaves. Okay, so Matilda runs into the house as soon as Miss Trunchbull leaves. And Miss Honey, she runs after her. She's like, please, Matilda, stop. Don't go in there.
Right.
She runs in there. She's like, we got to get your treasures. We got to get the doll. We got to get your stuff.
Mm-hmm. So now she's trying to get the doll.
Right.
She just heard about the doll 5 minutes ago. She's like, I'm going to steal it.
Yeah. So Miss Honey runs after her. Meanwhile, after Miss Trunchbull left, remember who sold her this vehicle?
The daddy.
The dad. Car breaks down. It ain't no good. It's a lemon car. So she doesn't get very far. Right. She gets like up the street. The car breaks down. She gets out. She's pissed. Quick frame back to them in the house. Right. They're in the house. So they get into the house. And the house is in horrible condition. They see this portrait of Miss Trunchbull hanging up over the fireplace. It's like her from her Olympic days.
I remember.
She's got her thighs out.
Yes, honey.
Matilda's like, whoever painted this portrait must have had a really strong stomach.
Not Matilda Dragon.
She is a funny Matilda. So flashback to Miss Trunchbull with the broken down car. She's dealing with the car. She lifts up the car because it's not running. It's not moving. Yeah. She lifts it up herself and turns it into the opposite direction towards the house. She lifts it up and turns the car.
She's funny.
She lifts up the car and turns it with her own body. So, and she pushes it the rest of the way.
She could have been an icon if she wasn't so crazy.
She really could have. So she pushes it the other way towards the house. Matilda and Miss Honey, they're back in the house. Right. They see this container of like chocolate.
Okay. She's chocolate.
And Miss Honey was like, oh, this was my father's like chocolate box, and he would always eat out of it after we had dinner or whatever. And he would always take one piece and he would cut it in half and he'd give me the other piece. And then Matilda's like, oh, take one. And Miss Honey's like, no, she'll notice that one's missing. And then Matilda's like, whatever. She's like, okay, where's the doll? And then
Matilda's like, oh, over
like,
you.
She's like, get it together.
Yeah.
Either keep it up or come on.
Yeah. She's like, where's the doll?
Okay, so Matilda's like, okay, where's the doll? And
Matilda's like, where's the doll then?
Fine. If you're not going to do what I tell you.
She's like, point me in the direction of the doll that you like so much.
So she's like, it's upstairs. So Matilda runs upstairs to go get it. And then Miss Honey's like, no, Matilda keeps no.
Why'd you tell
her?
But
in the process of Matilda running upstairs, Miss Honey runs up after her, but she leaves the box open. So, because it was closed when they saw it, she leaves the box open. Not good. Right. So Miss Trunchbull, she's outside the house. She comes home. She hasn't entered the house yet, so they don't know that so Matilda and Miss Honey don't know that she's there yet. Yeah. They go upstairs into Miss Honey's old room. They see the doll, but they also see a portrait of Miss Honey's dad. His name was Magnus.
Ooh, she was rich, huh?
He was a doctor, so, you know.
They had a portrait of her. Miss Honey should be living large.
Yeah. They had a portrait of the daddy, not of her. Right. But his name was Magnus. And Matilda was like, I don't think he killed himself. And then Miss Honey was like, neither do I.
Oh, this is getting dark.
Right.
Now Matilda catching I don't think he murdered. What?
Right. And then so Miss Trunchbull now enters. And she slams the door. Eesh. They hear her. Ugh. And then they're freaking out.
Out the window.
They're freaking out.
Jump out the window.
She gets on the phone and she screams, Wormwood! So Matilda thinks she's calling her. Oh. But she's on the phone. She's calling Harry. So she's calling her dad and telling him she's like clicking out on him about the car. Right. And in the process of her going off on him, she turns and she notices the box of chocolates has been opened.
She's so crazy.
And she's like, she hangs up on him. So now she's peeped that someone is in her house. She starts sniffing around like a fox.
Right. I remember
she's like literally sniffing like a hound dog or something. And she's like looking around and go, Matilda and Miss Honey, they're upstairs and they're shook. And they're basically like, we need to make a run for it. So Miss Honey's like, you go this way. And she's like, I'm going to go this way and I'm going to distract her. So Matilda ends up in this like stairwell this like staircase that has like buku crap in it. It's like pots and pans and stuff. I don't know. I think it like
junk.
Yeah, it's like this junky staircase.
It's like a closet, but instead of a closet, it's a staircase full of junk.
This scene was very hard to follow and very hard to keep notes on. But basically, it's like she's like they're like trying to turn her in different directions with like their sounds and their movements. So she's like going back and forth between going after Matilda and going after Miss Honey. So because she went upstairs to see who was in there.
Yeah.
And she was getting real close to where Matilda was. And Miss Honey grabs one of her like Olympic javelin balls or whatever and like throws it to like set her off and bring her into another direction of the house. So then she goes towards Miss Honey. So now Matilda, she makes her way down this junky stairwell trying to make as minimal noise as possible. But that doesn't happen because there's literally crap everywhere in this junky stairwell. There's literally like pots and pans and like brooms and umbrellas in there.
Right.
So it was like impossible for her not to make noise. So she ends up making noise, but the stairwell leads to like a kitchen. So she makes noise. She ends up in the kitchen. Miss Trunchbull hears her. So Miss Trunchbull's now going to the kitchen. She's on the second floor of the house.
She's moving. She's like on her
feet. She jumps from the staircase. From the second floor to the first floor. She jumps. She doesn't run down steps.
She's in shape. Don't play with her.
She jumps. And she's
not tossing little kids over fences for fun. That's her exercise.
This is her exercise.
She's in shape.
What's CrossFit? When you have kids
to throw. Right.
She makes her way to the kitchen. Matilda's like, crap, what do I do? So she tries, there's a door that exits out of the kitchen, but it's locked.
Oh.
So she's like freaking out. There's a table in the kitchen, so she hides underneath the table.
That's too much, right?
Yes. Miss Trunchbull, she gets down there. She's in the kitchen. She doesn't see anybody. She notices the table, so she's like, obviously whoever's in here is underneath the table. She checks the table. Matilda is hiding underneath the tablecloth, and as she's getting closer, you can see Miss Trunchbull's shadow, like, approaching the table. She's like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And with her powers or her telekineticness, she, like, hovers underneath the table. I don't know how to explain it.
She goes like
she like
close to the top of the table.
Yeah, she's like at the top of the table. She's hanging from the top of the table.
Underneath it.
Right. And Miss Trunchbull, pulls it back. She doesn't see anybody. So she gives up basically. Yeah. She pulls out her chocolate cake. That cookie hungry. The cafeteria lady made for her. Yeah. She still got it and she starts eating it like a horse.
Literally like there's someone in your house.
Yeah. So she kind of like gives up. And
she's like, whatever, kill me if you need to.
And then Miss Honey, she makes like another sound to like throw her off. To get her away from Matilda.
Yeah.
So Miss Trunchbull, she hears the noise. She goes running to find the noise. So I don't know what Matilda does. She goes in a different direction. So now Miss Trunchbull's after Miss Honey. But then Matilda makes some kind of noise, and now Miss Trunchbull's after Matilda again. Some kind of way the two, Miss Honey and Miss Honey and Matilda, they meet up somewhere in the house. And then they go down, somehow kind of way, they go down them same little junky steps. And some kind of way now, these junky steps lead to the basement. Now they're in the basement. Miss Trunchbull following them.
Yeah.
And there's a door out to the basement that leads outside, but it's locked. So they go through the window. Miss Trunchbull right on their tail. She coming through with the javelin. She got a javelin in her hand. Like she about to throw it at them and stab them. And like in the midst of following them, she's like, some little kids are gonna die today.
Oh goodness.
So she had every intent on murdering them.
I think she would have murdered them.
Oh no.
And I think she would have got away with it for a while.
She definitely would have killed them.
Yeah. And she would have buried them in the backyard and known to find their bodies for a while.
I know. So they make it out of the basement through the window. They miss her by like literally 10 seconds. She busts through the door.
She's terrifying.
They start running through the bushes. She runs after them through the bushes. She misses them. She can't find them. Whoever they are to her, she don't know who it is. And she gives up and she goes back in the house. She's like, ah!
She's wild because I cannot sleep for like the rest of my life. If someone broke into my house, they got away. She ate cake. She's like, I need a break from about to mess these people up.
All right. So Okay. So Miss Honey and Matilda, they get away by the skin of their teeth. And Miss Honey grabs Matilda and is like, Matilda, you have to promise me you will not go back into that house.
Right, because you are clearly the ringleader here. It's not me.
And Matilda was like, okay, I promise. So they went in the house. They didn't get, the doll. They didn't get nothing. So that's the end of that scene. So the next scene, Matilda makes it home. She walks into the house. The mom is entertaining the cops. They're in the house. They're on the sofa. She's chatting it up.
What you call them? The fast boat salesman?
Yeah, she was like the speedboat salesman in the living room.
Yes.
And she's talking about how, me and Harry used to go out all the time.
Oh my goodness.
He used to bring home so much money, and we used to spread it around and throw it around and roll around in it. And she was like, now we've got so much money in so many different bank accounts across the country. I can't
Not across the country.
Yes, I was like, girl, why is you ratting on yourself?
Why are you letting her know about the finances?
And then so when Matilda walks in, the mom introduces them. She was like, Matilda, this is Bob and Bill. And Matilda's like, they're cops. And she's like, don't be such an ignoramus. They're speedboat salesmen.
I love how she's saying it to their face. She's like, I'm tired. I'm done. I had a long day.
Right.
They're policemen in this home.
Right. And then so Harry comes home a couple of minutes after. And he was like, what is this? Right. He was like, why are y'all in my house?
Right.
Who are you? And he kicks them out. And the mom was like, you never take me anywhere nice anymore. She was like, you haven't bought me anything in forever. And so they're like fussing with each other, right? The wife runs into the bedroom. She slams the door and he like runs after her. He's like, sweetest pie, please. And Matilda's like, hey dad, yell at me. And he was like, literally? Stop talking to me right now. Like, you're literally the bane of my existence. Stop talking to me. And then she was like, okay, yell at me some more. And he was like, you want me to yell at you? You want me to yell at you? Fine, I'll yell at you. And then he's like approaching her and he's getting closer and closer. And he was like, you are the most annoying child I've ever met in my entire life. He's going in on her. And then as he's getting closer and closer and closer, she's like squinting her eyes and the door her room starts to shake and wiggle, and it's like moving back and forth, and he's like inches away from entering her room, and right as he's about to come in, she closes the door, but with her brain. So she does all this with her powers.
Good for her.
So she's learning,
the craft.
how to harness her powers.
The craft brought you
and it seems they really work the best when she's angry.
It's kind of creepy how much anger she has in her that she can move things.
So the next scene is basically a montage of her unlocking her powers and practicing them and seeing how to use them. So she's in the house. She's like dancing. She's playing music on the radio with her mind.
What song is she playing? Do you remember? I don't remember. I didn't mean to preach you.
I think is it Omnui? Omnui. I think Omnui.
I think it is that song.
That might be at the end of the movie. I actually don't know.
Yeah. It's definitely in the movie, but yeah.
I think it's at the end. I don't know what song it's playing. Anywho. But she's playing music on the radio. She got the lamps turning on and off. She eating Cheerios and a spoon floating to her mouth. She, jugging back the gallon of milk, but she not holding it. She's doing it with her brain. She's doing all this thing. The pots and pans are moving like it's Cinderella. Yeah. So she's doing all these things with her brain. So she's practicing and stuff. So that's basically the montage that we have going on. The montage is over now. She's done playing with the pots and pans and the Cheerios, and she sits down and she unwinds. And when she sits down and tries to unwind, she sees the two cops sneaking around their house. So she follows them. She goes out back to their garage, and the two cops are in the garage, and they're talking about how they're gonna bust Harry. And one of the cops are like, should we even be doing this because we don't have a warrant? And they're like, the other cop's like, he's dirty. It doesn't matter. Oh. So Matilda walks in on them, and she's like, "What are y'all doing in here?" And she sees them trying to take a box.
So they're already in the garage.
Yeah, they're in the garage. They're in the garage. So they're in the garage without a warrant. Should we be in here because we have a warrant?
Yeah.
And but they don't see Matilda yet. Matilda's hiding. They're trying to get this box out of the garage that they are assuming has stolen car parts in it. So they're trying to get the box, and they're talking to each other while he's trying to get the box, and Matilda's moving the box with her brain. And so every time he looks up, the box moves. And then he turns around to talk to the other cop again. He looks up, the box moves again. So then Matilda comes out and she's like, "What are y'all doing?" And they're like, she's like, you can go to jail for doing like a search without a warrant, or you can even lose your federal license.
Not cops,
and they're
apparently.
Like, your daddy's gonna go away to jail for a very long time. And they're like, you want to know what's gonna happen to you? You're gonna be an orphan. But they're like,
so mean,
right? And they're like, you're gonna be an orphan.
She's like, I'm already an orphan.
We'll make sure it's a nice orphanage that you end up at if you keep your mouth shut. Right. They're like an orphanage that has tiny roaches and not big roaches.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Do you think she's an idiot?
Right. And so they're talking to her. And then she was like, I'm not really worried about that, but what y'all should be worried about is y'all car rolling down the street. She got the car that they in, rolling down the road. She done, controlled it with her brain, and got the car that they drive, rolling down the hill. So they run after the car. And that ultimately, they also had footage of like pictures and stuff in their hand, but they dropped it when they went to go run after the car. So she picks up like the pictures and the videos that they have of their dad, and of her dad, and she throws it away.
She's so nice.
Yeah,
she's confusing.
Literally, to buy him some more time.
Right? Did she like her dad? Did she like her dad? Is he a bad person? Is he a good person?
Right.
She's like, I guess these cancel out because the cops did something bad, but my dad did something bad, so let's just like erase the.
So, next scene, Matilda's like, all right, I got my powers. I know what I'm doing.
I figured it out.
It's time to get some ish done here.
Right.
It's time to get her done. So that night, she packs a bag. She puts a cute little red ribbon in her hair. She puts on a coat because it's cold outside, and she heads over to Miss Trunchbull's house.
Right.
Okay? So she's on her way out the door. Her brother Michael's like, where are you going? And she's like, out. And he was like, he's fixing on him one of his little cheap TV dinners. And it's got like carrots in it. And he's like, hey, dip face, you should have a carrot. Hey, dip face. Hey, dip face. Hey, dip face. And he throws like the carrot at her. And then she stops the carrot midair with her brain. And she reverses the carrot back. And she like throws it back at him. And it lands in his mouth.
There you go, girl.
And she did all that with her brain. So she's on her way out. It's a really windy night. Very gustly. So she's at Miss Trunchbull's house. She gets there and she sees Miss Trunchbull. This scene was very creepy to me. She sees Miss Trunchbull from the window. She was like in a robe and her hair was like slicked back, and she's like sharpening her javelin with like a sword.
Jesus, how old is this lady? When's the last time she was in the Olympics?
Like,
let it go, girl.
It's like dim and yellow. It just looked so creepy. And there was like wind and thunder. It was just like, oh.
She's like, this is my self-care.
Right. So she's just watching her sharpen her javelin. And then she moves on. She keeps it moving. And she climbs up the side of like the shack that's attached to the house. And she gets on the roof of the shack. From the roof of the shack, she can see inside the window of Miss Honey's room where the doll is and where the portrait is of her dad and stuff. So she don't go into the house. So she's trying not to break the promise that she made.
Rules.
Yeah, so she's trying not to break the promise that she made to Miss Honey. So she's sitting on top of the roof. She opens the window up with her brain, with her telekinetic powers. She gets the doll. She's trying to get the doll to come to her. I guess her powers are on the fritz because it's taking a while. She's really concentrating. The doll's not coming.
She's doing it for love, and it's kind of hard.
Right, exactly. There's no anger behind it, so she's struggling. And so she finally gets the doll to come to the window, but it's windy, so the doll blows into the tree. So she's upset. Right. So she tries again to get the doll. She eventually gets the doll to come. So she grabs the doll. She climbs back down from the shed. Mm-hmm. And now she goes back to the window where she saw Miss Trunchbull. So now she's like, all right, I got the doll. Now I'm about to mess with you.
Right.
So,
step one done.
Right. So first, she walks up. She opens the window slightly to the room that Miss Trunchbull's in. She opens up the little chocolate box. She takes 2 chocolates. Remember, all this happens with her brain. She's doing this with her mind. She takes 2 chocolates out of the chocolate box and brings them to her. She puts them in her pocket. And then the window slams. Miss Trunchbull hears the window slams. And Matilda ducks down and hides while Miss Trunchbull goes to the window to see what the noise was. Miss Trunchbull doesn't see anything, so she goes back to sit down. And then there's like this big grandfather clock in the room that Miss Trunchbull's in. And the clock like strikes. But it's not like, you know how it strikes at like at 0:00?
Yeah.
Like,
12 o'clock.
But it's like 6:49.
Yeah.
So it's like, why? She's like, why is this clock going off?
Yeah.
And so she tries to, she like throws the clock to get it to stop. Mm-hmm. But it keeps on doing it. And it keeps on doing it. The clock keeps on going off. And then she's like, what's going on? So then the lights start flickering on and off. And then the windows start opening and closing. And then the portrait that was hanging up on her, that was hanging of her all over the fireplace, falls and gets pushed into the fire.
That was expensive.
That she has lit. And then, okay, so now she's like freaking out. She's like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And it's all her like Olympic balls, like her little javelin balls and stuff. They start rolling down the staircase. She freaking out. She's spooked. And then, in the midst of the balls coming down, the portrait that was hanging in Miss Honey's room of Magnus, her dad, it starts flying out. And then she's like, oh, Magnus? So she's like freaking out. She's like, oh my God, please, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. So she's spooked. She makes a run for her car. She like hurry up and gets out of the house. She makes a run for their car. Matilda's watching in laughter. But just as Matilda thinks, she's like, I got her. I served this lady. Her ribbon that was in her hair, she had a red ribbon in her hair. The wind blows it out. Mm-hmm. And Matilda walks off. The ribbon falls onto Miss Trunchbull's car. And
like around the antenna or something, right?
Yeah, and it falls on the antenna. As Miss Trunchbull's getting in the car, she notices it. She grabs it. She does her little sniffling thing where she smells.
Right, this is her
and I guess it smells like a child.
Right.
She realizes that it was some kid that was messing with her.
Which is weird. Something I still wouldn't be able to you can't explain that away.
But still, right, exactly. But now, she ain't spooked no more because now she thinks she's cracked the case, Miss Trunchbull. So the next scene, the next day, Matilda, she pulls up, at Trunchbull Elementary Hall, or whatever the name of the school is. She runs to Miss Honey. She gets off the bus. She's like, Miss Honey, Miss Honey, Miss Honey. You won't believe what I got for you. She pulls out the doll and she pulls out the chocolates. Right. And then Miss Honey's like,
the chocolates too.
Right. She was like, I got one for me and one for you. And Miss Honey's like, Matilda, you promised me you weren't going to go back into that house. She was like, but I didn't. I used my powers. And she was like, Jesus Christ.
Right, she's like, okay, this kid's starting to get creepy. Right.
And then so as she says that, Miss Trunchbull pulls up on them. She walks on the car. She looks like she's been through hell and back.
Yeah,
she looks like a hot mess.
Yeah, worse than usual.
Her butt all over the place, girl. She got that messy bun. She look like she ain't slept. And she walks up to Miss Honey. She's like, I'll be teaching your class today.
Oh.
So,
do you have a degree, lady?
Right. So she tells them, I'll be teaching your class today. So, cut to they're in the classroom. Miss Honey is freaking out. Meanwhile, while Miss Honey's freaking out, Matilda already got a plan concocted. Mm-hmm. She's like, you tripping over here, but we good. Trust me. And she's asking Miss Honey all these questions. She was like, well, what did your dad call you again when you were a little girl? And she was like, he called me Bumblebee.
What?
And she was like, and what did your dad call Miss Trunchbull? Miss Trunchbull? And she was like, no, he called her Agatha. And she was like, and what did she call him? Magnus? And she was like, yes, but why are you asking me these questions?
Why are you asking those questions? I don't know.
And she was like, and then so Miss Trunchbull kind of walks in the midst of all of that. because Miss Honey's like freaking out. And Matilda's kind of like, calm down, I got it. So I missed the part. So Miss Honey is like freaking out. She's freaking out. She's like, why are you asking me all these questions, Matilda? And Matilda's like, just calm down. So Miss Honey sits down, tries to calm down. Matilda's like, here, have some water. And she gives her the water, but she gives her with her brain. So the water's like floating. She pours the water into the cup and she hands it to, well, she doesn't hand it to her, but she like, floats it over to her. Right. And then she's like, her hands are in her head, so she doesn't notice it. And then she looks up and she sees the water floating. And she's like, hold up now.
Right.
She's like, how are you doing this? And then she was like, I tried to tell you, I have these powers.
So creepy.
And then she was like, I'm not seeing this. I'm not seeing this.
Right.
And then she was like, yeah, you are. And then she like does something else. She like lifts up the water bottle again, or the water jug again. And she pours the water out and then pours it back in. And she's like freaking out. And Matilda's like, Miss Trunchbull's not going to mess with us anymore. And Miss Honey's like, okay. She's kind of like still in shock. So then Miss Trunchbull walks in. She enters with the rest of the kids. She tells the kids to hurry up, get in line. She tells them get in a single file line. She's like giving them this whole speech, this whole spiel. And she's probably like, I bet you're wondering why I'm telling you all of these things. And she's basically saying, someone last night came to my home. I don't know who it was. I don't know why they came. I don't know what time it was, but they came to my home and they tried to mess with me. And she was like, they had this very pretty little ribbon in their hair. She pulls out the ribbon. She was like, who does this ribbon belong to? And no one, takes ownership of the ribbon.
The random ribbon.
Right. She pulls out the ribbon. She pulls out the ribbon. She was like, who had this pretty ribbon in their hair yesterday, but doesn't have it in their hair today? No one answers. She throws the ribbon on the ground. She was like, who was it? And then she spits on the ribbon. She stomps on the ribbon. And then Miss Honey is like, hold on, like, please chill out. She was like, it was me. It was me. I was there at your house yesterday. Yeah. Please stop yelling at the kids, blah, 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 blah. And Miss Trunchbull grabs her wrist and she was like, Jen, I broke your arm once. I can do it again. Ooh. And then Miss Honey like snatches her arm away from her and she was like, you cannot scare me anymore, Aunt Trunchbull. And then the kids,
but yes.
Yeah, the kids were like, because
Aunt.
Yeah.
Auntie.
Aunt. Right. And she was like, I'm not 7 years old anymore, Aunt Trunchbull. And the kids gasp. And then Miss Trunchbull grabs Matilda. And she was like, I know it was you. I bet it was, blah, 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 blah. And she grabs Matilda. As soon as she grabs Matilda get to her, telekinetic powers. And she starts writing on the chalkboard, with her mind.
Yeah.
And the kids start reading the message. And the message says, Agatha, this is Magnus. Because you know how kids read. Give my little bumblebee her house and her money. Then get out of town. If you don't, I will get you. I will get you like you got me.
Oh my gosh.
That is a promise.
Now, Matilda is hilarious and a bit crazy.
Yes.
Not, I'm gonna get you like you got me.
And then, when kids do stuff, if kids do things in unison, it can either be really adorable or it can be really creepy. Like, if you hear, kids sing in a choir, that's so adorable. But if you hear, kids talk, a weird story, it's really creepy. So it was, really creepy because they were all reading it together.
Having kids saying, I will get you like you got me is creepy enough.
Right. And then the blinds start flickering and shuttering on and off. The lights start flickering. And, of course, Miss Trunchbull is spooked. She's freaking out. She's like,
right.
And then Matilda, she gets the erasers, the dry board erasers, and she has them swarm at Miss Trunchbull.
Yeah.
And they start hitting her with her mind.
Right. Yeah.
They start smacking her and smacking her and smacking her, and she literally passes out. She's like, and then passes out.
She's like, I do have a fear of this.
Right. So she passes out. they kind of just like stare at her for a minute. Like all the kids in the sunny, they're kind of just like, yeah. And then so one little boy, he walks up on her very slowly. And then as he walks up on her, she opens her eyes and she grabs him.
Oh my goodness.
And then so she grabs him by his like waist. She starts spinning him around the room, doing a little circle.
Right.
And then she throws him out the window. But Matilda uses her brain power. She grabs him with her brain and brings him back into the room and lands him in the room safely.
Yeah.
And then Matilda takes Miss Trunchbull with her brain. There's this big, like, large, like, globe in the room. And she throws Miss Trunchbull onto the globe. And she starts spinning the globe around in a circle. So she's, like, spinning and spinning and spinning. And she's getting really sick. And then, as the speed picks up, she, like, gets thrown off the globe. And then she likes to grab people now. So now she's thrown off the globe. She's all dizzy.
It's like, what child can I throw?
Yeah. She's looking around the room. As soon as she, like, gets, footing and, like, gets her balance, she sees Lavender, the little black girl. So now she's running after Lavender.
Leave Lavender alone.
And then Matilda, with her brain, her telekinetic powers, she lifts the Lavender up into the air. And Miss Trunchbull, she was running at her with full force. And Lavender was standing in front of the door. Yeah. So she runs after Lavender. Matilda lifts Lavender up in the air. And so Miss Trunchbull goes flying through the door. So she misses Lavender. Lavender comes back to the ground safely with the help of Matilda.
Yes, she's an angel.
And then the kids go out in the hallway to see what all the commotion is. And then, so one kid starts, like, throwing his, like, lunch at her.
Ooh, he was bold that day. He's like, if no one else is going to start it, I will.
And then, so all the other
Had
kids...
it up to here.
So then another kid starts throwing their lunch at her. And then, all the other kids, they start grabbing their lunch, they start throwing at her.
Ooh, they are brave.
And then she's, like, slowly getting up. She's, like, slowly getting up off the ground. And she turns around. It's literally the entire school in the hallway with their lunches open. And they just start hurling their lunches at her. And she's like screaming. She's like, ah, ah, ah. They're like chasing her out the school. She's like walking around. Well, she's like running out the door. She's like all discombobulated. She's all confused. She don't know where she at. She's like trying to shield herself from all the kids. They outside the windows throwing food at her. She getting food hurled at her from every angle. She gets into her car. The car taking all day to start. She's like, oh my God, start car, start. And then they're still throwing food at the car. For her. And then she finally gets the car to start and she like drives off. Never to be seen ever again.
That's all it took. One bad food fight. She's like, I'm done.
All it took was that sign. Talk about some get out of town.
Oh, right.
Yes. You, like, you got me.
That's is the creepiest thing. She's like, what does he call you? And what is he called? She was ready.
That girl said she had that plan concocted.
I know.
She was like, what did he call you again? And what was his name? Bet. I got it.
That's so funny because, like, it didn't even, like, if someone, like, it doesn't need to be accurate for me. Like, just start drawing things on the board, whatever you think he called me, whatever. I don't know. It doesn't need to be anything. But she was like, let's be 100% about this.
Girl, so the Trunchbull, she was gone, never to be seen or heard from ever again. Okay? So, deuces. The next scene.
Yes.
Miss Honey, she's in her beautiful home. The home looks like it's where it should be. Mm-hmm. It's in good condition now. It's her house now. It's been renovated. And Matilda is now a frequent visitor at the house. She's there all the time. So this new scene that we're in, Matilda and Miss Honey, they're outside, they're having tea at the house. And Matilda's family pulls up. They're like, Matilda, let's go. Like, the mom gets out of the car. She's like, come on, we're leaving. And then she was like, where are we going? And then Miss Honey's like, oh no, I walk her home. Like, it's fine. Like, you don't have to grab her. Like, she's like, chill. And then she was like, well, you can't walk her home because no one's gonna be there because we're moving to Guam. Not Guam. Yes. I thought she was gonna say Florida. I literally thought she was gonna say like maybe New Mexico or something. Not Guam. She said, we're moving to Guam. And then Matilda's like, Guam. And then Miss Honey's like, wait, what are you talking about? What's going on?
And that's extreme.
Yes. And then the dad gets out of the car and he's like, come on, we got to hurry up. We got to beat the speedboat salesman. And so I've always, and when I was watching it, I could not understand what was the purpose of including the like cops into the scenario. I was like, why is this in the storyline?
Oh, like the whole like the
I was like, what's the point of this? But the whole
conclusion.
point of it, because
they need an out.
To move away.
Yeah,
we need an out. Matilda needs an out from this family. So they're like, come on, we're moving to Guam. Get your stuff. We got to hurry up and get to the airport before the speedboat salesman find us. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, Matilda's like, I'm not going with you. And then she was like, I want to stay with Miss Honey. And her mom was like, why would she want a brat like you? And then Miss Honey was like, because I love her so much. And then she was like, Matilda's like, you can adopt me, Miss Honey. And then and she's like, I have the adoption papers right here. She gets her bag, she pulls out the adoption papers.
She's like, I am ready.
And then her mom's like, her real mom. Yeah. It's like, where did you get these? And she's like, I've had them since I was 4, since I've been able to Xerox. I don't know what that means, but she's like, I've had them for years.
Yeah.
She's like, they've been in my bag for years.
She's like, I've been waiting for someone to adopt me. I've been going up to strangers and saying, will you adopt me? And this is the first one that's going to say yes.
So then Harry was like, we ain't got time for this. Get in the car, Melinda. And she's like, my name is Matilda.
Not Melinda.
He goes, get in the car, Melinda. She's like, my name is Matilda.
She's like, I've only been gone for 2 weeks and you forgot my name.
Right. And
get in the car, Melinda.
She's like, please, Miss Honey, adopt me. And then she was like, I would love to. And then Harry was like, we don't have time for this.
Right.
And she was like, please, Dad, you don't have to worry about me ever again. And then Harry was like, he asked the mom, he was like, well, what do you think? And she was like, she looks at Matilda and she was like, Matilda, I've never had a daughter before. You're the only daughter I've ever had.
Oh,
and she was like, from the moment you came out, I never understood you. And Matilda just kind of looks at her like, okay, so
yeah, she's like,
are you gonna give me up or what? Like, let's get the show on the road. Yeah. And she's like, who has a pen? Aww. So she signs the papers, and the dad signs the papers. And then Harry's like, you're not going to be asking us for no child support or nothing, are you? And then she was like, no. Matilda will be well taken care of in my hands. And they say their goodbyes. They get in the car.
It's the nicest thing they could have ever done for her.
Yes, that's the literally nicest. What the narrator said. They said the nicest thing they've ever done for her. So they sign, they drive off, and they get away from the cops. They get away.
The cellphone fell.
And as bad as things were before, that's how good they became.
Oh.
So we get a little, a snippet of the new life that Miss Tilda and Miss Honey have.
Miss Tilda.
That's what I see. I don't know why I want to say Miss Tilda.
Matilda.
We get a nice snippet of the life that Miss Honey and Miss
Matilda. Stop saying Miss.
I'm going to try it again. We get a nice snippet, a nice overview of the life that Miss Honey and Matilda now have. They have picnics. They're rollerblading inside the house.
Ooh, inside the house.
They're gardening. They have tea. They're doing bedtime stories. They're sewing. They're knitting. And Miss Honey is now the principal
about time.
Of Cruncham Elementary. They even had to add more grade levels because none of the kids wanted to leave. Aww. And Miss Honey and Matilda. Oh my God. Miss Honey and Matilda each got what they wanted, which was a loving family. Aww. And Matilda never had to use her powers ever again.
Oh, please, wait till high school.
Right.
She's going to be throwing boys that dumped her out the window left and right.
What's funny is because I read in the book, not in the book, I read that in the book, Matilda actually loses her powers. In the movie, she doesn't lose them. She just doesn't.
That would be nice if she lost her powers because Matilda, while she was nice and she did use her for good, she did seem like if one thing went wrong, she would be a little crazy.
Right.
She was kind of scary. Just a little bit.
Right, because I guess in the book, the whole purpose of her losing her powers because
she's happy.
She's happy now, so she doesn't need them, use them.
Yeah.
So
she did right. A lot of things could have went differently. Miss Honey could have had a little more backbone.
How can you, when you've been abused since you were 5 years old.
I don't know. One star would move, like, I don't know, down the street at least from your aunt that abuses you. She's like next door.
Right, she literally is like down the road. She moved out of her aunt's house. Yeah, down the block.
Yeah, not even that far.
But yes, that is the story of the one, the only, the child prodigy, Matilda.
Yay, good story. That's fun. I have to watch that now.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It was a good one.
Yeah.
All right, well.
Yeah, don't bully kids, guys.
Yes, don't grow up to be like
abusive.
Miss Trunchbull.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't be abusive.
The whole gist and moral of the story is don't be... Girl, I lost my train of thought. Karma comes back to bite you.
What was it? People are bad. Things happen to bad people. What was it she learned?
When a person is bad, a person is meant to be punished.
Ooh, that's a harsh one.
Girl, yes.
She was like, and I'm going to enact it.
That girl says, say less. You mean a person? Okay.
Yes. She's like a person.
Bet, daddy-o.
She's like, you know, she's like a reader, and she like knows words, and words matter to her. She's like, a person.
Exactly.
She's like, okay.
Be careful what you say.
She's like a good child too. She was like, okay, I'm going to enact the lessons you have taught me.
Right.
Minus the whole watch TV thing, which is not the worst thing, but it's worse that they didn't let her.
They were horrible parents, but they still taught her valuable lessons.
They did. And they let her go in the end.
Yes.
Guam.
They did the nicest thing that they could have ever done for her.
Guam. It's also a lot to... I get, like, what he was doing is illegal. It seems like a lot to spend police hours on investigating some guy who
sells crappy cars.
Yeah, you could just shut it down. I don't think we have to, like, send him to Guam or where the hell. But all right. Good job.
Thanks.
Catch us next time.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.